For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome to episode 17 of the Dumb Marks podcast. And this week, we're listening to the triple threat edition of the Dumb Marks. Down one of the famous four, Don P, is not able to join us today. We'll hopefully get him back next week, and he can talk a little bit more about what's going on.
I put him on the shelf.
Yeah. We wrote him out for storyline purposes this week. He'll be back next week, kind of like Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. So yeah, but episode 17, the fallout from Christmas edition. I know you guys are single without kids, so you don't have the luxury of being drunk Christmas Eve trying to build stuff. But how was everybody's Christmas? How was everybody's Christmas? How was your week? Everybody doing good?
Doing good. Christmas was good. Good, Jason.
Oh, it was good. It was enjoyable. It was good. Got the rest.
Yeah, the rest is key.
That's key.
Rest is key.
Was Santa good to everybody?
Yeah, I got the normal dad gifts. I got a new hoodie and some shorts. So I got the normal dad stuff. We still managed to surprise both kids with gifts, even though they're 16 and 10. So that's a parenting win. Nice. I can check that box off. I'll get into a parenting loss later on in Parenting 101 segment for this week's show, where it was just a debacle. So we'll cover that later on in the show. But yeah, man, other than that, it was good. It was a lazy day, man. Christmas Eve, we watched movies Christmas Eve, and then yesterday, kids opened presents, watched A Christmas Story, Home Alone in the evening. Ate some good foods, some homemade wedding soup and just quiet day. Went out and shoveled my driveway this morning. Northeast got hit with a white Christmas again for the first time in a long time.
I don't need that shit anytime soon again.
I think Pittsburgh, it's only been 5 times in like the last 50 years, I think I saw, for Pittsburgh to actually have a white Christmas. So for being in the upper Northeast, you think it would be a little bit more common than that, but actually it's a lot less common than people think.
What was everybody's favorite gift from Christmas? And see, since you had kids, what were their favorites?
So we surprised my son with a nice new gaming chair for him for his gaming. Which is a funny story because the box came like 2.5 months ago, right? So my daughter saw the box, so I had to play it off like, "Hey, this is a surprise gift for Tristan. Don't say nothing for Christmas." And then we stuck it in the office and threw a blanket over top of the box and put the printer on top of the box. And like, the dude's been in the office doing schoolwork every day for the last 2.5 months. Never noticed the box. Had no idea it was in there. So I don't know if he's just not that good at hide and seek, or he's gonna struggle with things, not being able to notice stuff. But yeah, so that was that. I was building that Christmas Eve, and then got my surprised my daughter with a vanity set for her room. So putting that together. But those were the, and actually one of the gifts she did like was a Polaroid camera, like back in the day.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So, it's kind of big now.
Yeah. So she was snapping some pictures yesterday, and got a little photo album to go along with it, and some other stuff. So
good luck on that film.
Yeah, it came with 10 pictures. I don't know what the film costs to replace it, but
it'll be a bear.
We'll see.
Does it do it like the old one did? Like you take it and it comes out and you got to wait for it to develop and all that?
Yeah, I mean, this time instead of popping out of the bottom, it pops straight out the top of the camera.
Okay.
And then it gives you little like I don't know, two by four pictures or 3x5 pictures, little ones.
So it's not like the square that you have like the white at the bottom to write on or anything.
No, the white's still on the bottom that you can write on.
Okay.
They're just small. They're just smaller size pictures. They're not as big as they used to be.
Okay. It's like for locker decoration. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that'll be cool.
Yeah. So everybody else get stuff and that.
I'm gonna go with socks. I was in dire need of socks.
Socks and underwear are like the staple once you hit like 17 years old. Like you're bound to get socks and underwear.
Like I try my hardest not to buy them all year long, just to wait Christmas. So I was kind of running low on socks.
That's what I got too. I got socks, and then I got a phone sanitizer. So like you put it in, it does like the UV cleaning of it.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot lately. I don't know if that really works or not, but
yeah, that's what we were actually. Me and my sister were talking about getting one for my mom. Not the phone one, but like getting like one of the UV wands.
Yeah.
And the more research we did, it kept saying, like we kept seeing conflicting things where some people loved it, and then some people were like, it doesn't get as clean as they say it does.
Right.
Or so it's like, it's just, I guess something's better than nothing, I guess, in that instance. But
I'll just take a Clorox wipe to it.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing. Yeah. So all right. Anything catch your eye this week? I know I got an early Christmas / birthday present for myself with the new release date for Cobra Kai season 3, which will now premiere January 1st instead of January 8th. Instead of January 8th, so we get Cobra Kai a week early.
I like that trailer that you
sent. Will look good.
The one where you changed the date, yeah, that was.
Yeah. I'm so pumped. Like, I'm gonna go back in and watch season 1 and 2, even though I just watched season 1 and 2 not that long ago. But like I'm conflicted because January 1st is all the big college football games, the college football playoff and that. So I may hold out till Sunday the 2nd and just binge it all on Sunday and not worry about it, or Saturday the 2nd.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet on that. I want to catch up on movies this week before the next week when that comes out. Like I still need to watch Wonder Woman. I still need to watch Soul, and then I'm sure there's some other ones in between that I want to catch up on too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that next week. I don't know if I'm going to go back and binge again, but I might at least just go back and watch the last finale.
Yeah. Jay, you watched Wonder Woman yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So without giving spoilers away, thumbs up, thumbs down, in the middle?
I'll give it a thumbs up, but I like the first one better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I didn't like the first one. What do you think I'm going to think of this one?
Knowing you probably won't like it.
See, I like the first
talk
one.
about it afterwards.
Yeah, I like the first one. I thought by far it's probably the best, if not one of the best DC movies that they've put out. So I had a little bit higher expectations coming in for this one because I was hoping they keep it up at least with one franchise of movies that they do. But we'll see. I don't have HBO Max, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do that. Yeah, we plan on watching Soul today. That's on deck for this evening. Little popcorn and watch party for that on Disney Plus later on.
Likewise.
I agree with you. I think Wonder Woman, the first one, was the best DC movie. It's just for me, and it's kind of like the downfall of comic books in a way because you had DC and you had Marvel, and they both copy each other because people would go and switch jobs. People that made stuff at DC then went to Marvel and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's the same to me. It was the same story as Captain America, just as with Wonder Woman. That's why I didn't really care for the movie. It's like I've been here and I watched this before, but that's no fault to the characters or the people that made the movie. But
so I don't know how familiar you are with Moon Knight the comic book and the character.
I just know the character. I don't know much about his story.
So, he's kind of like Batman, in a way, where he doesn't really have superhero powers. But the twist with him is in there was a little snippet released today about the series that's going to be coming on Disney Plus. So the Moon Knight Disney Plus series will follow the action hero on the streets as he jumps out of buildings and gets into fights, typical stuff. The series will show Mark Spector, who is Moon Knight, as a Marine having dissociative identity disorder. The mental illness is a unique aspect of the program and the character. The series will also explore the ancient Egyptian iconography. Easy for me to say. So but the whole thing with Moon Knight is that like he has a mental illness, which is why he turns into a superhero, and that they're going to dive into that aspect of it during the series. So I'll be interested to see how it plays out. Something different. I think tackling a mental health issue with is something that doesn't often get talked about enough. And hopefully it'll shed some light on that and make people more aware of certain mental health issues, even if it only singles in on one particular one.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely not done.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead.
Is this becoming overkill for you?
What's that? Overkill with what?
With like the superhero genre. Because there's just so much now.
Yeah, there's so much like it. So like my thing with it now, because we're over 10 years with this, right? The first Iron Man was 2008, right? Yeah. So we're 10 plus years into this. I think now the characters that are coming into shows and movies now they're not the mainstream superheroes that people know about. They're on the outskirts, they're on the fringe. So unless you're a diehard comic book reader and follow that realm of entertainment and story and all that, you may not know these characters that are being introduced on shows and in the movies. So like, and you see that with the list of stuff that Marvel put out that they're planning to release the next 3 years. There's stuff in there that people don't really follow because they're not the mainstream Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk, those types of characters.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with Netflix. Like they had the Daredevil, they had I can't even think of the chick's
Luke
name.
Cage.
Yeah.
Jessica James.
Jessica, yeah. Like they had all those shows, and then it just they eliminated all of them because they kind of I guess the ratings started to fizzle on there, and they just eliminated everything all at one time.
Because I see myself with DC on TV, I'm like, I'm keeping up with one, I'm letting the other one fall behind. I just dropped one altogether.
Yeah, I think now you're going to see more of. I don't want to say it'll be like a mass ratings hit, for lack of better words, like you saw with like Avengers and that. Now it'll be more your singular preference as to what characters you want to follow, what characters grab you that you're not familiar with. Like I'm gonna tune into this Moon Knight because based off of what they're going to be tackling and the backstory behind him, like to me that's interesting. It's a different take on a superhero, so I'm gonna follow that to see how it goes and how it plays out, and that may lead me into other characters that I didn't know about that I'll want to watch. But now it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be more pick and choose based off of what you like and what you don't like.
Is Moon Knight going to be part of Phase 4?
It's strictly just a Disney Plus series.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's going to be any tie-ins to him later on or not.
Okay.
Does Disney have any other series besides Mandalorian?
Right now?
Yeah.
No. WandaVision will be this like the second big series that'll start in January, and then you'll get Loki, this Moon Knight series that's later on down the road.
The Winter Soldier and
Winter Soldier and what is it? Whatever that one is. Don Cheadle series
Oh yeah, I forgot about his.
as War Machine.
War
So
Machine.
yeah. So yeah, they're gonna ramp up and start and put more on. But I mean, honestly, if you're not a fan of comic books and all that, like, or you don't have young children, what's the grab for Disney Plus to get you to sign up for their streaming service?
The old content, I think. You know, it used to be.
But again, if you don't have kids, are you buying Disney Plus to go back in and watch Pinocchio?
Not necessarily Pinocchio, but there's some movies.
I bought it just because it was Disney Plus.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
especially now that they have all the Marvel stuff, they have the Star Wars stuff. I even like the National Geographic things that they put on there, like for some documentaries to watch from time to time. But then you have like everything, like Aladdin, Lion King, and stuff from our childhood.
Yeah, that's what. So like, I'll be interested to see, because like, it's almost like Disney Plus, besides their core, movies that everybody knows, the Pinocchios, Aladdins, Lion Kings, like all those, like, if you're not a Star Wars fan or a comic book fan, it's kind of like one of those where now there's so many different streaming services out there. So what am I going to pay my money to watch? Like, if HBO Max has all this stuff from HBO, they have original content, and they're getting movies released for 30 days while they're on the theater, like, maybe I'll give them my $15 instead of my 15 going to Disney Plus. Like, it's just, I'll be interested to see what Disney Plus does to keep people signed up, and whether or not anything that they release that's strictly Disney Plus will get people to gravitate there. Because I'm curious to see what the membership rate was for HBO Max now, that, especially since Wonder Woman dropped yesterday. How is that going to move going forward? Are they going to get more people to sign up based off of the deal that they struck? Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the streaming wars play out.
Yeah, it's interesting because Disney Plus said they're going to raise their price this year in 2021. And then I've been seeing a lot for Christmas, HBO Max, like you can subscribe for 20% off for a whole year. So
yeah, my cousin did that. He signed up for HBO Max and he got the 20% off. So like, I think it broke down to like, it was basically you were paying 6 months worth for a year's worth of a membership. Okay. It was almost like half off when you break it down month by month. So, yeah, it's just something on the side to pay attention to with streaming services and everybody putting out their own streaming services. We'll see who gets what, which ones last, which ones don't. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be paying $10 for 100 different streaming services, because then my bill is just as much as it is for cable. Like,
did you see the Captain Power or the Captain Planet meme?
No.
They had everybody as an individual streaming service, and Captain Planet was the same price as cable.
That's good.
That's great. It's
true. So true.
It's great. So, I mean, in the end, like, people were cutting the cord because they wanted to get away from high prices of cable, but it may flip around to where you want to keep cable because it's cheaper and you only pay for your 2 or 3 streaming services that you watch.
Yeah. And then you also have to count into a fact too, like take Comcast. With Comcast, you get the Peacock streaming service for free.
They're charging you next year.
Yeah.
Or they're charging you coming up.
Was it AT&T? They give you HBO Max for free if you're a member with them. So there's workarounds with it, but you can't go to everything,
Yeah. So just interesting to see, but yeah. So that's it. Anything else in the intro that we want to touch base on or cover TV entertainment wise?
I didn't honestly get to watch a whole lot this week with the holiday, so.
Yeah, it was kind of I was watching older stuff this week, like I was watching more of the older Christmas stuff, and that didn't really watch too much like live or current series programming. A lot of stuff wasn't on anyways because of it being Christmas week. So, all right, well, that's it for the intro, and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, gentlemen, it was a busy week in wrestling. We started with the TLC pay-per-view this past Sunday night. Did everybody get a chance to watch?
Yeah, I caught up on it. We gave our prediction show live Friday night for it, and I hit a couple of those. Hurt Business.
Hit a couple. You hit a couple.
Well, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much.
Say, since when are you modest?
Listen, it's the day after Christmas. I'm still being humble. Okay, we're gonna go humble brag here. Okay, we're going to humble brag. I'm not with my Barry Horowitz with my T-shirt, but it's coming. But yeah, I mean, I caught up on it. Good show. I think you gave like a 2.5 as far as expectations for the show. G gave, I think, a 3 or something like that. I went a little higher. I gave them a 6 out of 10 before the show started. And by all accounts, I would say, it was one of their best shows of the year, if you look at it really. From top to bottom, match quality wise, and that. So the build up to it wasn't the greatest, but the pay per view I think definitely delivered and was above people's expectations for what a typical TLC pay per view is during the year.
Yeah, I mean it's never the most look forward to event, and yeah, I wasn't really looking forward to it going in. Yeah, I gave it 2.5 going in for hype. I think I probably would only. I was thinking about the past couple of days. I might go 5 out of 10 for overall for the event. It was a decent event. There wasn't a whole lot wrong with it, but I still didn't think like the overall event like really was firing on any cylinders.
Well, you're definitely against the. I'm drinking coffee out of a grumpy mug right now, and you're definitely on the grumpy side for that rating because
that's what Chris is.
Because everywhere you looked on socials, it was just absolute outpouring of love for this pay-per-view.
It's like I didn't really care for the opening match. Like it kind of fell into what it was. Like the whole build-up for the opening WWE Championship TLC match. The build-up was crap, and I felt the match was a little sloppy. Like
I didn't like it till Miz got in.
Okay.
And then the anticipation started to build up, but it was like then it fell flat with the ending for me.
Yeah, and they hardly used him at all in the match, really. Even like whenever he got in, like he was just very. Even though they made a triple threat match at that point, he was very much a side note in that match.
Yeah, I mean, I think matches lived up to their expectations or exceeded them, except for probably that Raw Championship match.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Carmella and Sasha was better than what people were saying going in. Yeah. Owens and Reigns, like the Hurt Business and New Day, like I mean, I thought the quality was a lot better in majority of the matches than what people were expecting going into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I thought Sasha Carmella was decent. I called my match tonight going in. I thought was going to be Roman and Owens, and it was. I thought that was definitely the best match on the card. It finally gave me Roman just dominating the whole match, and that's what I really enjoyed.
So you have momentum coming out of a pay-per-view going into a holiday week where WWE during holiday weeks typically phones it in and gives you your cheeky, run-of-the-mill holiday matches. So you have all that momentum, and then you get just shit Monday night again. Just terrible show.
I honestly didn't follow anything on Raw, so yeah, let me know what the shit was.
Just everything, the whole setup to to the Christmas street fight. Which why are you having a street fight, but yet you're standing on the ropes waiting for tag-ins? Like it was a normal 6-man tag match with presence around the ring. That's what it was. It wasn't a street fight. It was a normal 6-man tag match with presence around the ring that people got thrown into. And it's like, come on. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Charlotte and Asuka, like, I don't know. I mean, Charlotte's kind of like, in her promo was like, yay, I'm tag team champs, but at the same time, I only did it because it's going to benefit me and me working my way to a women's championship match. So I would have much rather have seen Lana and Asuka instead of Charlotte and Asuka.
I'm glad to see her back.
Yeah, the promo doesn't make any sense, and because really, if anything, she should be happy that she won this title because now it's made her a Grand Slam champion. And who else was she going to be tag team partners with?
She was trying to. I mean, she was playing the fence, like, but just some of the wording, it was just like, well, we already know that you're not like what you're really in it for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
kind of shits over the belt too. Like if she's sitting there saying, "I'm using this as a stepping stone to get a main title."
Pretty much. The Hardy Bros and her, like, I do not need Riddle and Jeff Hardy as a team at all. The whole stoner character with Riddle, like it's
you could send back NXT for me.
It's not good. RVD as a stoner character, great. Riddle as a stoner character, terrible. Terrible. It's cheeky, it's cheesy, it's garbage. Like I don't need it at all.
And how much has it been overdone over the years? I mean, even just in general. Yeah, I mean, other than RVD, I'm even just talking about in general in entertainment. Like it's the stoner character. Yeah, it always gets a few laughs here and there, but it's just like it's usually just more annoying after a while than anything.
And why does Jeff Hardy constantly have to be in substance abuse angles and storylines and tag team partners? Like, we all know his issues. It's like WCW running the alcoholic gimmick with Scott Hall when he really was battling, substance issues. Like, why do you? That's not taking real life and making it in a storyline to make storylines more compelling. That's just lazy, dumb booking. I'm looking at it like this guy has battled issues forever, and yet you're continuing to put him in substance abuse angles and storylines. Like, I don't need it. Jeff Hardy's he should be above all that.
Yeah, he should be.
So,
and
like,
I'm sure Vince is back there, seeing like the real life being intertwined and blurring the lines between reality and story and going, that's good shit.
Well, apparently Vince really loves Riddle's stoner gimmick, so I don't know. We'll see what that turns into as far as a push for him. But you have the stuff with Retribution and Ricochet, where Ricochet has been fighting every member of Retribution, and they're trying to get him to join. I can care less.
No.
Here's what I'll say, and this is an indictment on Raw. So Raw Talk and Talking Smack. Talking Smack has been really good the past couple of weeks with Paul Heyman and what he's done with Kevin Owens, what he's done with Big E. And Talking Smack, whenever it first started, was really good with The Miz and Daniel Bryan and other issues and that. And Vince shut it down because people were getting over when they weren't supposed to get over, right? Raw Talk this past week had Ricochet on, and the 5 or so minutes that he was on Raw Talk got me way more invested in this story and way more invested in him as a character than anything he's done on Raw since he's been called up to the main roster.
I didn't see it.
And it's an indictment on them that they can't. I'm more entertained by watching Raw Talk than I am watching 3 hours of Raw. So what does that say about
with Retribution?
What's that?
Is he still being mixed in with Retribution?
Yeah, they're still running that, but him on Raw Talk made me actually interested in the story with him and Retribution, and it was 5 to 7 minutes of just him talking and answering questions in interview.
Well, look, even for a few weeks there, Mustafa and some other people from Retribution were posting videos on Twitter, like wrapping up, like kind of like talking about like how their angle is complete with certain things, and the stuff on Twitter made you interested. But whenever it came to actually watching something on Raw, it was nothing. It was non-existent.
That's what I mean. I don't understand why Twitter and Raw Talk. I'd rather watch those every Monday than actual sit down through the show.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackson Riker, defeated Grand Metalik, and he's Elias's, I guess, muscle now, and it's just I don't need him on the show. Angel Garza came back. That did nothing for me. The only thing that I was entertained by, and it wasn't even the only thing that I was entertained by on the show was Alexa Bliss and Alexa's Playground. I hated the promo that Randy cut. Like I thought it was one of the worst promos Randy's done in a long time. To me, this one felt like it was him rehearsing and him reciting the words that were given to him for his promo. Whether or not they give Orton a promo now, who knows? But I didn't like it. It just came off as like cheesy. Like you tried murdering a dude. You murdered a dude. Like, and WWE has gone to the murder well way too many times in 2020. Mysterio gets thrown off a rooftop. Aleister Black gets thrown off a rooftop. AJ Styles gets buried alive. Braun Strowman drowns in a swamp. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of things. But yeah, like, don't know what the fascination is with murdering people, but they magically reappear on my screen, a month later. Oh, Tozawa got eaten by a shark, but the next week he's chasing the W47 championship around again. Like, what is the deal with writing in murder for these storylines when these people are right back on television the next week?
Because it's supposed to be a soap opera. And no one ever stays dead in the soap opera.
But the soap opera storylines when people get killed off are way better than Raw.
Yes, they are.
if you
for a long term too.
If you ever watched Days of Our Lives or General Hospital or any of those shows growing up, like Stefano on Days of Our Lives died 17 times, but each time he died and came back, I was still invested in the character. Yeah. It made sense. This bullshit, but I don't want to get off on a rant on a soapbox. Going back to what I said, Alexa Bliss and Alexa Bliss's Playground was the only entertaining thing that I took from this show, and it's because of how good of an actress she is and how well she's playing that character. So my question to you is, the Fiend character, is that done with? It's done with, right? You can't bring the Fiend back, right?
I was going to ask the same question because I kind of feel like this is going to be, I think Alexa even hinted at it in that promo, that it's almost kind of going to become like a rebirth or a new evolution of the Fiend.
And Bray was tweeting that out right after the pay-per-view on Sunday. Yeah. He was tweeting pictures, of some type of moth in a cocoon or something, and the red circle, things coming around full circle and that. So, I mean, 2020 started with the Fiend as the Universal Champion, and it ended with him on fire. So, I mean, if that's the year-long run that the character's getting, I mean, hell, he definitely hit all the check boxes for what to do in a lifetime.
Well, he's somebody you can trust with a gimmick, so whatever he comes back is, it'll probably be decent.
Yeah.
But why does it? But why does it have to be him constantly reinventing himself and coming up with these different characters? Like, the Undertaker died and came back how many times, and it was the Undertaker. Like, I don't understand why you can't have Bray be in that that space in that segment. Like, to me, he's the only guy that can pull off a character like the Undertaker, where it's that hokey, supernatural, super being type character, but it's so well done that you buy in and you believe in it.
I mean, what if it's like Mass Kane? What if it's like something that he goes in and out of? Not like it's truly dead, but he can always bring it back somewhere down the road.
Well, yeah, that's what okay, that's what I mean. So, like, you had Taker, then you had the badass, and then you had the dead man, and so you've seen the different versions of it, and he's hopped in and out. But to me, it's like Bray's been buried so many times, and he's come up and reinvented himself already so many times, but up until now, like, none of those characters are ones that he can jump back into.
We discussed this before too, and I'd have to go back and compare the storylines, but the Fiend was going back and kind of like righting the wrongs from Bray Wyatt in a way, going against Daniel Bryan, going against Randy Orton, and so on and so on. I wonder if he completed all that checklist, and so now that's why it's time for the evolution in a way. He did what he was supposed to do, and now we see the next level.
That's fine. I trust Bray Wyatt to do that. I don't trust him to tell that story.
But now, does he move on and we start seeing new feuds, or whatever this next evolution is? Do we go back and do the whole thing all over again?
I don't know. I don't know
what happened. Randy settle. So
yeah.
I mean, Orton's the only one that's really gone over on him with every character that he's done.
Yeah.
He's never righted that wrong, And I get what you're saying. Like, if you look back at who the Fiend has faced during the year and what he's done, Seth Rollins, Roman, Braun, Daniel Bryan, like
Cena.
All that, Cena. Yeah. Cena's another one they killed off back at WrestleMania. But like, yeah. I don't know. It's just, to me, you had the hottest character come over to Raw in a new storyline when you added Alexa Bliss, that was your most entertaining thing on the show. And 3 months after the draft, he's burned alive in a ring, and now you don't know where you stand with it.
But as you can see, they're not done. So
yeah, it's definitely a continue.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, I don't know. To me, like, I don't think the character had a shelf life to where you needed to kill him off in a year.
And do we see him come back when? This upcoming Monday, the following week, or because the way it's going, it's probably the match is going to happen at Rumble, since we have over a month till the Rumble now. It's like do you really bring him back that quickly? Does he really come back from the dead? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I don't know. So Raw continues to be the shits. And there's just no getting around it right now. On the opposite side of the shits, and carrying momentum from a pay-per-view and actually building upon that momentum, even though it was a pre-taped episode and spoilers were out there, which I managed to avoid. SmackDown was a really good show last night.
Yeah, it was.
One of the better cage matches I've seen in a really long time. Really long time. I liked it. As soon as the door closed, they were smacking each other.
Those two seem to have chemistry. I mean,
I got no problem. Somebody, I don't know if it was from Cage Hot Seats or if it was just a random tweet that was out there that I saw, but might have been from the Observer or Wrestling Voices, one of those. But they said Owens and Reigns falls into that fight forever category.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if I'd put them in there. I'd have to think about it. But as far as people that you want to see Owens in the ring with on a consistent basis, him and Sammy is probably number one. And they've been number one since they were outside of WWE. But him and Reigns are really good in the ring.
Yeah.
Really good in the ring.
Like we talked about, during our TLC predictions, that we would like to see Kevin Owens get a title run again at some point. It probably isn't in the cards right now with how strong Roman is. And I think this storyline justifies that he deserves a title run at some point again.
Absolutely. The ending of the match is he's handcuffed and Roman is slowly walking down the steps, and they just show Owens and he goes, "You little bitch." Like, and Roman just looks over his shoulder, looks at him, and just walks down the last two steps all nonchalant. And yeah, I'm the shit. And you know, it was just done really well. Now, will they continue it to Rumble? I don't think it ended based off of that cage match last night.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, so that's twice in 1 week that Roman defeated him. You know, not without any help, of course, but you know, do you really give him another title shot after 2 defeats?
Well, that's the question, because right now I don't think you can build anybody up to face Roman at the Rumble besides KO.
We thought Daniel Bryan was going to be that, but you know, last night put Daniel Bryan in a different path. You know,
so it seems that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is one of the things I wanted to talk to about last night's show. So Bryan announces he's an entrant for the Royal Rumble, which automatically leads to speculation that he'll win the Rumble and face Roman at Mania, which I'm not mad at. I would have rather them seen go with Big E and Roman for Big E's singles push, but we'll touch on Big E after this based off of last night. So Bryan wins. Looks to be, you could see him being one of the guys that's booked to win the Rumble to face Roman, and they've tied Bryan in with everything that's going on with Roman and Jay for the last month and a half now. However, Bryan gave an interview where his contract's coming up and being a father is really important to him, so he wants to be more of a part-time wrestler.
I saw that.
So if he's going to be the one to face Roman at Mania, and he wants to be a part-time wrestler and his contract's coming up, that doesn't make sense to put the belt on him. You can't, as a character, you can't tell Sami Zayn, hey, you need to defend the Intercontinental Championship more, but yet you become a part-timer with the Universal title and you don't defend it.
Yeah, they've been doing this whole thing between Daniel and Sami for months now, and that's gone absolutely nowhere. So, I mean, is there going to be a payoff for that at some point? And we'll get to the reason why, you know, in the next segment, you know, why it really doesn't make sense to do anything now. But, I mean, could this be in the instance, say The Rock does come back for WrestleMania, like, you know, we've talked about in the past. Maybe Daniel Bryan really didn't sit there and say that he wants the World Championship again, or the Universal Championship. You know, he was like, I want to win the Royal Rumble. So does he win the Royal Rumble and then maybe like a fast lane we get Roman versus Daniel Bryan instead of doing it at WrestleMania? I don't like when they do that type of payoff, but you know, it can give you what he wanted and do something else at WrestleMania.
So what, he loses the Roman at Fastlane and then you build Goldberg for Roman from Fastlane to Mania? Because you're not going to get The Rock this year.
No.
As much as the storyline fits it, he's not coming back unless it's sold out, fans are in, and I think schedule-wise it doesn't match up for him to be back this year either. He's open to coming back to face Roman. He's talked about it. So
maybe
you know that
at SummerSlam.
So that possibility is there, but you know, I don't know. Like this build to the Rumble and then kicking off Mania season is going to be an interesting one because there's not a whole lot that I can see character-wise to go in to face Roman. You're doing KO now and probably going to finish that off in the Rumble or at the Rumble. Daniel Bryan, you know, announced last night, so he's obviously going to be a fan favorite to pick to win the Rumble.
Seth.
And yeah, Seth is coming back. Seth is coming back next week. Does that do anything for you? Does that move the needle for you at all?
At the moment, no.
No. This Monday Night Messiah or this Messiah gimmick got to go.
If they change him up, yeah, like if if they change something up with him, it hasn't been that long that he's been out, so it's not really justified to change his character. But as long as they move him off of Mysterio, that needs to be done.
Yeah.
No, that's done. I don't see him coming back and getting back in the fold with Mysterio or Buddy. Like, to me, that's over with. It's done with.
Yeah. So as long as they do something new, I'll at least be interested in him. But
I'm not. So I'm not mad at the Savior of SmackDown gimmick when it comes to him versus Roman, because it would fit that storyline.
Yeah.
Where Roman's the head of the table, Roman's, he's bullying Jay to do his dirty work. Jimmy should be back in the fold by then. Like, they can play off of that to where Seth is going after Roman because he wants to save SmackDown from this, tribal chief that's running rampant, putting hits out on everybody. So you can still run with that gimmick, but and it's bleak on both cards this year as far as.
Now, do you think the fans are back with Seth if he runs with that angle?
I was just about to bring that up too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think if we had fans in the stands, Seth coming back after having a baby, fans might be a little more agreeable to him.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, they can book him however, and he left as a heel. So why would he come back as a face?
We've seen that with returns before, though, where they've gone on.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter's gone on as a heel when he tore his quad, and he comes back, and he's the biggest baby face in the company.
Yeah, but that's how long? He's out 6, 7, 8 months with that. Seth's
I know, but I'm just saying, typically, when you get a return, for whatever reason, people tend to
forget about
you on the side of them as a baby face than them as a heel, because they missed the return. I mean, I can't think of too many returns where people came back that left as a heel and came back as a heel and were successful as a heel.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Mania will be interesting. The Rumble will be interesting. See where they go, who they build up on both sides. I think Raw's in way more dire straits than SmackDown is as far as finding a contender and a storyline to build with. So that's that. SmackDown, rest of the show, the women's tag team title match was really good. I enjoyed that. Great pairings. I want to see more.
Segment.
I want to see more of Bianca and Charlotte for sure. That little minute and a half that they had in the ring together, that got my appetite wet to see them two go at it. To me, like I said, I want to see Bianca and Sasha at Mania.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Put the rocket on her. I know she's worked with Bayley right now and doing that thing with Bayley, and it got furthered again last night. But I'm all for going with Bianca versus Charlotte or Sasha. What else? Big E or anything else from the women's match you guys want to touch on?
I was just going to say they didn't officially announce a women's Rumble match yet, but I'm guessing it's going to happen again. And so I'd like to see Bianca win that this year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind comparing Bayley and Carmella as a tag.
Yeah, no, I think that based off of where both their characters are at, that would be a good tag team to run with the belts, and get a look. They showed the Riot Squad during the match, so maybe Sasha or maybe Asuka and Charlotte, appear on SmackDown a little bit more for matchup wise, because I think there's more teams they can work with on SmackDown than on Raw to defend the belts. So
that show up on NXT too.
That would be another place for them to go. So yeah, that was done really well. And then Big E, Sami Zayn, main event for the IC title. Why were there Raw superstars out as lumberjacks last night?
I missed that.
Yep.
Gulak was out there. I seen Gulak out there.
Gulak was out there. Angel Garza was out there. They had Raw superstars out as lumberjacks, which made.
Are they still on 205?
I have no idea. But
that'd probably be the only reason. That'd be my guess if so, but I don't know.
I mean, I know it was pre-taped, so like, if it's pre-taped, you think you would catch, hey, dumbasses, we got raw people as lumberjacks. We might want to switch them out. Hell, even throw some security guards out there for lumberjacks instead of raw superstars. I don't care. Just don't have raw guys showing up as lumberjacks on SmackDown's matches.
Or maybe your talent is that
is that thin? Maybe the talent is that thin right now. The roster is that thin.
Possibly.
So what'd you think? Big E beat Sami Zayn in the lumberjack match. Sami was good all night, as he usually is with the conspiracy theories and trying to get behind who set up for this lumberjack match and all that. So when they announced it, I kind of figured out of all the title matches that this would be the one to change hands going into the show. So I don't know if that took a little bit out of the main event for me, but I think it fell flat. I don't think I am I happy that Big E won and has a singles title? Yes. Do I like the way they did it and the payoff and the match for him getting it? Nah, it fell flat for me.
I haven't been high on Sami Zayn since he came back.
I love Sami since he's been back. I love everything he's done. He's had some of the most creative finishes out there.
True. Like
I mean, as a heel champion, sticking your opponent's foot in the ropes, handcuffing people to the ladders, the Sammy Awards where you put yourself over. Like, I mean, he's been great on the mic and doing character work as this heel gimmick that he's in right now. And I don't, you wanted to see him get beat for sure, because that's what he's done as a heel. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get you invested into seeing him lose. To me, I just feel like having it done last night to Big E just fell flat and could have been better than what it was. Not to take anything away from me being excited about E with a championship, because he's more than deserving. I just feel like if we were going to get this big singles push from Big E and him to be, split from the New Day, then why do you do it with like a semi build to an IC title and not do it to have him be Universal Champion?
And do it on a show that probably ratings aren't going to be as good, being on a holiday. I didn't care for that. Like, yeah, it gives you that surprise, like, hey, yeah, even on a holiday show, we're still going to change the title. But I honestly thought that he was, like, as the match was going on, like, all the people on the outside kept beating him up. I thought, okay, here's going to be their way around Big E losing this match. And we'll just see a continuation maybe next week or the week after he gets another title match. So I was a little surprised that he won last night, but.
And why, like, to me, it would have been better. It would have been better if when towards the end of the match, when Sammy's on the outside and all the lumberjacks are fighting, why isn't the referee doing a 10 count there? And Sammy goes up the ramp and gets counted out, and then they move it to Rumble and have Big E win at the Rumble. Like, it's a way of Sami Zayn to slither out again and come up with a creative way of keeping his championship. Like, I mean, all that did was show how fast Apollo Crews is.
And I was trying to think a lot. I was trying to think last night too, like lumberjack matches. From what I remember, when the lumberjacks always interfere somehow in the match, but it was always behind the referee's back.
Right.
It was never, the referee staring at them and they're beating them up. And that's what was going on last night. And it's just like, I was like, I didn't think that this is a no disqualification match. It's supposed to be just a regular match. That didn't make sense to me at all, but
I don't know. But like for Big E itself, for Big E himself, like, is this what you wanted with a Big E push? Like, were you satisfied with that outcome last night? Or were you expecting more for a push from Big E?
I'm satisfied as a start.
As a start, okay.
Yeah, I guess as a start, I can be okay with it. be interesting to see what they do with him. I'm sure he's going to feud with Sammy again, but where they go from there.
Then who do you have in that area for him to feud against other than Sammy?
And I see like level feud.
Yeah, I mean it could be anybody, but so many people's going to be in the main event picture.
Yeah, I mean, looking at SmackDown, you'd hate to say Cesaro or Nakamura because those two have been a tag team for so long, and you've seen them fight the New Day so long. Like you wouldn't want to see that. But I think like that type of ilk of a superstar, Cesaro, Nakamura, like that level, like they. And I can't believe I'm saying that they should only be relegated to the IC title, because to me, Cesaro and Nakamura could easily be your Universal Champion. But they'll never put it on either one of them again, or at all in Cesaro's case. I don't know. Like that's what I mean. It's so hard looking at these rosters right now and what they got going on to figure out, or to even know who's there to step up into that role. That's because they don't do long-term storytelling, and they don't have long-term booking for all the characters. One thing that you can't knock Vince Russo for was the fact that he had some type of storyline, some type of angle, something going on for every character on the show, regardless if it was good or bad.
Yeah.
But if injuries happened or something went down, there was enough there behind each character that if somebody got catapulted up a tier into that type of match, then you had a reason to either get behind them or hate them. Now, you don't have any of that with anybody.
Everybody on that level's in the tag team.
Because Vince throws every singles competitor together in a tag team.
Yeah. Especially the people that are mid-carders.
Yeah, so I'm really curious about this build to the Rumble and Mania and see what we get this year, because it hasn't been SmackDown's been better than Raw, and that's not even an argument anymore. It's the best show out of the two, but at the same time, besides Roman, Owens, and I'll even throw Jay in there because of how good Jay's been since he's gotten involved with Roman. SmackDown, there's not even a whole lot to get behind to see, okay, I want this person or that person. Like normally you go into a Rumble with 4 to 6 guys where you can legitimately see based on where they've been as, okay, these 4 to 6 people could win it. And then you have your 2 to 3 out of those 6 that go, all right, these are definitely the 2 to 3 that are going to win it for sure. Like I can see them getting a shot at Mania and becoming champ, because what's the big payoff at Mania? People going over and winning belts. How many times do people win the Rumble and lose at Mania?
I mean, it happens, but yeah, it's rare.
It's rare. So normally you have people that have been built up the previous year to where they win the Rumble and the fans get behind them to carry that momentum through Mania to where they get the payoff and they become champion.
Do you think it's on purpose?
I have no idea.
But do you think because Vince knows that he's putting Goldberg in there that he doesn't really need to build up anybody for this match?
If you're doing that from the SmackDown side of things, okay, but you still are neglecting Raw to where you don't have anybody built up to go after Drew.
Yeah.
So,
but if they're playing on, that kind of takes me back to the whole thing of maybe they just have Daniel win again or whoever win and just do it quickly so Goldberg can get his title shot, because they know that's not going to really matter. You had Drew this past year as the winner and he got it. So in a way it is kind of SmackDown's time this year to get the nod, for the main event. But I don't know. I agree. The build up for somebody is very lackluster this year. And also in the fact too, WWE's been doing shorter pay-per-views. Like Survivor Series and SummerSlam are normally like a 4-hour event now, and with COVID they bumped them down to 3 hours. If you're going to have 2 Rumble matches, a men's and a women's, that's almost 2 hours right there of a show. So it could be a very light show for matches this year.
Which I'm okay with if your storylines and your people that are in the Rumble and your surprise entrants have me excited. I don't know if I'm going to get that in the 6-week build to the Rumble. Maybe they'll change my mind, but because it was announced the 31st is going to be the Rumble.
Yeah.
So we now know a date. So now it's what are you going to do in the 6 weeks between now and then, or 5 weeks between now and then? That's going to get me excited.
And now you have another holiday.
Lastly, with main roster. Yeah, and then lastly with main roster news, the Slammy Awards were done, and it came out that it was a legit fan voting, at least for the 4 major categories, as far as the winners. But I mean, some of the nominees for the awards didn't make sense. Some of the the people that won didn't make sense. Undertaker and AJ is the match of the year, but yet you had the greatest wrestling match ever, which was the legit name for the match between Edge and Randy, and that didn't win your match of the year. So that kind of doesn't make sense. Your feud of the year was Randy and Drew. I would go Randy. You go Randy and Edge more than I would go Randy and Drew.
Yeah. So,
was that a nominee?
What's that?
Was that a nominee?
Yeah, I think so. There were so many categories this year and so many people. Like, I swear they went like 10 deep with nominees for each category. It just it made me forget more. Like Bailey won 2 Slammies. That I got no problem with Bailey winning the awards that she won based off of the year that she had. You could put her up there as of your top 3 to 4 people that carried the company this entire time during the pandemic. So, Drew won 2, whatever. I don't know. I didn't. The Slammers are inconsequential, and they don't even need to have them anymore. Like, they haven't been relevant since Owen Hart. Owen Hart actually made the Slammys relevant because he carried the trophies around and ran off of it. And, I was more interested in the Sammy Awards than the Slammy Awards.
I was trying to figure out who his action figures were.
And especially whenever you do the Slammy Awards the way they did them this year, like just on a YouTube show.
No.
Like, they brought some people back for it, and that was cool, but yeah, they did nothing with it. At least if they would have done the awards during an episode of Raw or SmackDown, it would have been current, and people would have had eyes on it. I just don't think they're gonna have as many eyes on it.
Shit.
All right, so enough of the main roster. Let's hop over to NXT on Wednesday night. Ratings dip again for them, even though they ran unopposed to AEW. AEW was on later on in the night based off of the NBA season getting back going. So ratings dipped below, and they still beat them. So I don't know what that says, but I enjoyed NXT this week. I thought it was a good show.
Basketball.
What's that?
Could have been basketball, possibly.
Yeah, it could have been basketball. I don't know. I didn't see what the games did. What the Milwaukee game did. The Bucks and Celtics did on Wednesday, but it was a good finish. Like, it went down to the wire. So I mean, obviously, I think people might have been. If you're a sports fan, you probably would have been tuned in more to the basketball game. But I enjoyed NXT this week. Johnny Gargano and the Way is hilarious. Hilarious.
I'm gonna have to agree.
Those vignettes in the Gargano household are one of the best things that NXT does. I like that they played it out over multiple segments.
Yeah.
Him putting himself on the top of the tree as a tree topper was great. Him him with the video cam, with the 80s camcorder and talking about, the love of my life, and he's zooming in on the North American title, and then he pans over to Candice. Like little things like that were great. I thought Austin Theory came off better in this vignette.
Mm-hmm.
He's the buffoon of the family, the one that's not in on the inside jokes, and people, Johnny's looking at him like a parent, looks at a dumb son, which
Even
is great.
Wrestling.
And that's the other thing. Like, I love the indie wrestling tagline. Like, how good is that?
The No Way Jose line.
No Way Jose line was awesome. You don't say that name in this house. Like, just done really well. I love the vignette for Kyle and Balor. Mm-hmm. Like, that got me super pumped for that match. Even though it's 2 weeks away, like, I was ready to see that again. Having them sit there and rewatch the match and talk about it, and both of them played that very well during that segment. I absolutely love that.
Now, are they running opposed to AEW that week?
No, they'll be
as of right now. No.
Oh, so basketball is still taking precedence?
So I think just because TNT doesn't normally have basketball on Wednesday nights. It was just because of it being the tip off to the season and the way they book the games that they're on. So there's not too many times that AEW will go off, because TNT is normally Tuesday and Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so AEW's doing their, what is it, New Year's Bash or whatever they're calling it, Smash or something. So that's this upcoming Wednesday and the following Wednesday. So they're doing 2 weeks.
It's 3 weeks.
Well, they had Holiday Bash this week, then it's like
that's right.
It's 2 weeks, yeah. So they'll be competing head to head against NXT for that.
A lot of channel switching.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as the rest of the show went for NXT, the vignettes for Cross and Priest are what they are. I love Cross. I was a huge fan of him before he even came into the WWE. Obviously, it's going to build to him and Balor at the next takeover would be my booking of it. But I'm not mad with what they're giving me with Kyle O'Reilly right now. So
no.
I don't need Dream versus Cole as the main event. I'm kind of over the Dream. At one point, I was behind him and was hoping to see him get a title run and then get called up, but I can't get behind him anymore at all. Like,
I kind of thought ever since he came back from his last injury, he's just been flat. Like, I know fans aren't into him because of the whole Me Too stuff, but
but that's what it is. I think it's that, because like, he still can go in the ring, but
I just felt like they haven't done anything character-wise and storyline-wise with him, really.
Yeah.
So but we saw, Rhea and Raquel have a pull apart brawl. There you go, Jason. You bash AEW for pull aparts, and you get a pull apart on NXT.
That's
which one did Jason like better?
What, brawl wise?
Yeah.
Hey, it's not every week.
That's true. They don't do it every week.
But you can't say those two don't have you invested.
No, they absolutely do. And again, I'm going to say it again. Raquel Gonzalez standing at the top of that ramp. I immediately saw China.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. Like, so I'm all for her and Rhea. I like the swerve they gave us with Io. And how badass is Io walking by? Hey, hit my music. And then she goes out to the ring. Like, it's just so badass. But I love the swerve that they gave, because they interviewed Tony Storm. Then you have Io do that. She goes out to the ring, calls out Io, and then you get Mercedes Martinez coming back and laying her out with a pretty vicious beatdown. That Death Valley driver into the barricade, into the fencing was pretty serious.
It's getting to the point where they need an NA title, like talent wise.
Yeah,
stacked.
they're really deep women's wise. So I'm not mad with Mercedes coming back. And if you're gonna give me her and you're gonna give me her and Io before you get to like her and Tony at Mania around there that takeover, I'm okay with that. Does the retribution stank linger around Mercedes at all for you?
No.
See, I
like when she first came out, I thought of Retribution, but then she went on her thing, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
hopefully she kind of makes it into her own. It'd be funny if it gets referenced, more. But
I mean, I don't think it will. She was the one that asked to be out of the group. She didn't want to do it. She asked to go back down to NXT, and there's no heat on her for doing that. So, I think she was off TV long enough that if you're not like us and know that she was in Retribution and you see her come back on Wednesday night, it's like, oh, Mercedes is back. Like, wow, look at what she did. I don't think you, but because we are and we watch and follow the stuff, so it's like, oh well, Retribution kind of. It's
kind of like what we talked about like weeks ago. That that everybody that was in Retribution, they have that chance to make chicken shit and chicken salad. And if going back to NXT is her way of doing that, fine.
Yeah. So that was really good. Ciampa
had that run in NXT, so
yeah. Ciampa going out and telling Thatcher we'll see him in the fight pit. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I hate Thatcher. He does nothing for me. But if Ciampa's gonna whoop his ass in a fight pit, I'll take
those two. You can get rid of that Thatcher, that catch camp, but those two going at it, I don't mind.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it was an enjoyable show for me. I really liked NXT. They, rumor going around is NXT has priorities set around long-term booking and long-term storytelling, and they're not going to make changes unless an injury pops up going forward. So we'll see if that plays out. I mean, they've done more long-term booking than any of the other WWE shows, but I guess they're truly emphasizing this going forward. I did see that hashtag strap on Mac, put the belt on Pat is going to have to be on the shelf for a little bit. If McAfee does come back, it won't be till springtime, summertime, and that was a WWE call. That was a WWE call, not a his call. So I wonder if he'll talk about it all on his show that he does. But looking at the rumor roundup today on Cage Side Seats, that was the rumor going around. So that's unfortunate. We'll see what happens with Pete Dunne and Oni Lorcan and them.
They still stay a group.
What's that?
Was he legit injured?
Who, Pat?
Yeah.
No, he got cleared everything. He did have some tests done and some X-rays and some MRIs done in that. So he wasn't. I mean, he was banged up like everybody else coming out of that match, but he wasn't injured like how Bobby Fish got injured.
Okay.
I hope the Kings of NXT stay together. I hate to see that end for being that short of a program.
Right.
Those guys together have some talent and could be a dominant force. If they wanted to add a fourth guy to go up against Undisputed Era again, they could, or whenever Pat does come back. But as a three-man group, they could be decent.
Yeah, so we'll see with that. But yeah, like I look forward to watching. If you had to rank, so Kevin Owens came out in an interview and said that NXT should definitely be on par with SmackDown and Raw. It should not be viewed as developmental anymore. It should not be viewed as a third brand. It should be on par and get the same attention as Raw and SmackDown, and same emphasis as far as promotion and everything else goes. If you had to rank the shows right now, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, what's your order?
WWE Jason, you want to take the lead on this?
My order would be NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, but I wouldn't put NXT on Raw and SmackDown's level, because if you put any of those guys on the main roster, they'll probably flounder.
Well,
but why?
I agree with your order. Yeah,
don't-
why?
Because the fans don't connect with them.
So do the fans not connect with them because they're not putting enough emphasis on SmackDown to elevate them to be on par with Raw and SmackDown from a promotion standpoint and emphasis standpoint?
Maybe it's
Because
still the stigma of being developmental, but I mean, you can see the past few call-ups that have been called up. A lot of them don't connect with the fans.
But I think that goes back to more of Vince and booking for those people than the people. If you look roster wise, NXT is probably the deepest out of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make an argument it has the most talent out of the three.
Look at last year at Survivor Series, how hot NXT was for that whole thing. You know,
and fans were connecting with those people there.
Yeah, and then Keith Lee, you thought was going to be the next coming, and then he gets to the main roster and just it. I don't think it was necessarily him not connecting with the fans. I think it was just what they were doing with him.
Well, I mean, then you get like this time right now. I don't think you can, without fans being there. I can't say Keith Lee wouldn't be bigger if the fans weren't there.
I just think, I think you gotta, and a lot of it is the way Hunter's presented NXT that, it's not WWE, even though it's under WWE, right? NXT's it's his baby, it's his vision, it's his booking, it's everything that he wants wrestling to be. And it comes across the screen based off of what they give you on a weekly basis and on a pay-per-view basis. Will it ever get to be on par with Raw and SmackDown? Not as long as Vince is in charge, no. I don't think you'll get that at all. Is it an indictment on them that they can't beat AEW in the ratings every Wednesday? And that's a negative against them as to why they won't get put on the same par as Raw and SmackDown? Possibly. I don't know what you do with that, but I think them not beating AEW is going to hurt Vince wanting to work with anybody that comes up from NXT, because he's going to look at it as, you can't beat the competition, so what makes you think you're going to draw people to my show on Monday or Fridays?
But then again, you have that secondary watch option with NXT.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. You don't know how many people are going on the network to watch NXT, and not watching it live.
You have that Hulu option and all that. So.
Usually, whenever the WWE Network does put out what the top things are for the week, and they don't do it every week. Usually, NXT is within the top 2 or 3 things watched for a week. But that they never say how many people that is or anything like that. Yeah. So there's a lot of unknowns with that. But I think the eyes do go on there. It's just how many eyes is a question.
So I think you have people going to watch AEW first, then saying I can watch NXT later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of AEW, let's get into Dynamite for this past week. Holiday edition there. What'd you think of the show? Hits, misses. What do you want to cover? Silence. Did you guys not watch Dynamite this week?
No, I did.
I trying to think of, but I'm not going to be there. I'm not. I don't want to hate. I'm not going to be a hater.
Well, no, I mean you're here to wave the WWE flag in opposition of AEW. So let's talk about the hate that you got, and then let me see if we can if we agree with you or if we can swing you to think differently.
It didn't feel like there was much draw for this.
I agree with that. I tweeted that
like a holiday episode.
I tweeted that out there that the card didn't seem that enticing to get me to watch as far as lineup for the show.
Yeah.
But match wise and what went on during the actual show, I thought for the card being what it was good. You know, besides Jericho being fat shamed by NBA Twitter fans for having a 50-year-old plus dad bod, you know, I think that match was really well, and I think him and MJF did a hell of a job of giving a rub to Top Flight.
I agree. It was a strong opening tag match, and then the show ended with a strong tag match.
I think, you know.
I didn't finish.
What about the finish?
I said I didn't finish. That's what match is on now. It's been
the Young Bucks. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for AEW, for their tag team division, and it's like, hey, you know, this team's lost in the shuffle, this team's lost in, you know, I think, do they have an overabundance of tag teams right now? Yes. Would they benefit from maybe bringing in like a trios title to have another tag team division where you can have trios champions, where you get like, you know, you have Jurassic Express, you have Best Friends, although Trent's out for a couple months, it appears, with a partially torn pec. You know, you can do different things there that would elevate some teams as far as trios wise. You have Death Triangle you can run, so you can do that to branch off from it. But as far as like young talent, and I mean like young talent, like the Top Flight are what, 19 and 21 years old.
Yeah.
The Acclaimed are super young. Like Jack, you know, Jurassic Express, I don't know how old Luchasaurus is, but Jack, you know, Jungle Boy Jack Perry is young. Margo Stunt, for what he is what he is, but I mean, he's young. So like you have a bunch of young teams to mix in to go with your established teams that you can elevate and give the rub to, like we saw on Wednesday night. So I'm fine with those two matches. I felt both teams, Top Flight and the Acclaimed, I thought that the moment wasn't too big for either one of those teams. I thought they both put on good performances for as young as they are. If I had to rank, you know, would like, if you go young team wise, because you still got Private Party too. So like, if you're looking at three young tag teams, Top Flight, Private Party, and the Acclaimed, like they're all young. I don't know what order you would put those three teams in right now, but I mean,
I'd put Top Flight, Acclaimed, and Private Party.
So I mean, there you go, right there, and you know, Private Party has had their moments with the Young Bucks and beating them and getting the rub. So I mean,
like I told Donald, it like the Acclaimed took tumbling classes as a kid, and Private Party's out there flipping on mattresses. That's what it looks like when they wrestle.
Just need that hybrid together.
Yeah.
Speaking of hybrid, there's that TH2, you know, another young team.
So I think it was done really well. I think, Jason, you bring up a point with the flipping on mattresses and everything else. Sting was on AEW's Unrestricted podcast this week, giving an interview and talking about him coming back to AEW. He is going to wrestle. He did say he is going to wrestle. It appears that he'll be in more, he wants to do more cinematic matches, which I think makes all the sense in the world, because you can work around his limitations. You know, that's what he talked with Tony Khan when Tony Khan reached out to him. He was trying to get him and Taker in a cinematic match, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And he said, his main reason for coming back was he didn't like how he went out in WWE. He didn't want that to be his ending to his career. So, I know Don P's not on this week, and he's a Legend hater and has his gripes about Stings. I'd love to get his take on Raw bringing back Legends Night on Monday night. So I can't wait for next week's pod.
That's a one night only thing, though. That's a
whatever.
Let him drop that $9.99.
Whatever. But so yeah, I mean, Sting saying what he's saying, makes all the sense in the world. I still think they're going to go with him, Darby, and Cody against Team Taz. I like the interaction this week.
He's doing too much talking for Sting.
He's Yeah, I mean, he's saying more than what he normally says, but he's still saying stuff without saying anything.
Yeah.
And that's
Like,
Sting's
I need
calling
an
for
interview
it.
every
Like,
week.
I like the fact that they showed Darby up in the rafters, you know, and then the lights go out and Darby's the one making the save on Sting with the skateboard and standing. So I like that. I like that interaction. To me, the person that jumped off the page during that whole segment, and I've been a huge fan of him before he was with AEW, was Ricky Starks.
True.
Yeah.
The dude is he is just charisma to the 10th power. And it comes off every time he's on the screen. Him, Taz, and then Cage all standing next to each other. Cage, for as much as he can go in the ring and his physique and his look and everything else, there's nothing that pops off besides his body when you look at him. Ricky is just, you look at him and it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be a player. Like, no doubt he's going to be a player. He's a player on the mic. He's a player in the ring. You know, I see, you know, hopefully big things for him in the TNT championship category, as well as maybe even potentially working up to a main event at some point in time because of how good he is on the mic.
I'd be very surprised if Ricky won the title, you know, because they're supposed to fight this upcoming week or the week after. I forget which date it is, but
Cage is fighting Darby.
Oh, okay.
Is this the second day?
Yeah, it's Cage. The 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks. Yeah, I'd like to see Ricky get the TNT title at some point, but right now the focus is so heavily on Darby, and I don't see that title coming off of him at any time soon.
Yeah, I felt, you know, the star of that segment to me with all those people out there was Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
Which is saying a lot because he had a couple lines, and other than that, it was just him walking out onto the ramp. So if your walkout and your couple lines make, in my eyes, draw me to you, and out of the 6 guys that were out there, you're the one that stands out the most, and that includes Sting being in the ring, to me, you got something.
He kind of reminds me, and I'm not even trying to say that he's going to be this level, but he could. He reminds me of a young Rock. You know, he had, like, when the Rock was in the Nation of Domination. That's what he reminds me of. Like, just he has that swagger and that ability about him that he stands out.
Yep. See what else from Dynamite this week? Saw the interview segment with Kenny Omega and Don Callis. You know, Marvez chasing him down in the hotel. Say what you will about Kenny Omega, and I could be accused of saying this, and I've said it on this podcast. I didn't think Kenny Omega was good on the microphone up until now. Now, whether or not it's because he's with Don Callis and Callis is such a wordsmith on the microphone, or whether it's because it's Kenny being comfortable in this character and this is who he wanted to portray and be in AEW, but him on the microphone on Wednesday night, you know, to go along with the outfit and you know, just the whole I guess essence of him in this character and him talking, that promo he cut Wednesday night was by far his best promo.
And I think that might be the key word there too. It was a great promo. A lot of the time that Kenny's had the mic in the past, it was just to have the mic. He had nothing really to say. So now we're actually starting to see Kenny being a character and cutting promos, and I think that's what's really making this stand out more than what he's done in the past.
He said, when the phone rings, I answer the call and win titles. When you trip over your own 2 feet and get injured. I was like, okay, I can get behind Kenny, for sure. And, you know, and talking about how Phoenix is choked. Hey, you know, the tournament you choked, you got boo-boo on your neck, you're out. Triple A, you choked. Like, running down the list, and then he throws it to Dawn, like, but I'm sure Impact will want you back. And Callis goes, he's a little too injury prone for us. Like, I just thought it was really good, and it gets me invested in their match. I knew them two would already have a good match. There's no debating that. Phoenix and Omega in the ring. If you haven't seen it in Triple A, go search it out and watch it. It's a hell of a match. Phoenix is one of those guys that can go in the ring with anybody and is a top tier main eventer ring wise and ring work. But it got me invested more from a story aspect besides just what I can expect them to do in the ring together.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this match. Even whenever it was booked, I was looking forward to it just on paper. But yeah, the little bit of build up, it's adding to it, and yeah, we'll see if Phoenix has anything or anything else Kenny has this upcoming week to build up for it.
Are you excited for Jake Hager and Wardlow?
I'm not big on Haas versus Haas fights, you know that, and I think you probably would be more excited than I am on it, but I'm not unopposed to it. You know it was coming at some point.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd get it this early.
No.
I like what Jake said in the ring on Wednesday. You know, I like, keeping that I guess that tension between MJF and the inner circle and, hey, it's time to cut bait, dude. He's not here, he's not around, he's a liability. We don't deal with liabilities in the inner circle. So yeah. I'm gonna whoop his ass and then you need to cut bait. And if this gets me I was gonna say, if this gets me a babyface Wardlow out of this to where he's wrecking shop as a babyface, I can definitely see that and get behind that.
Well, they really didn't say that, it's like the loser leaves type situation. So it's more just like a grudge match, I would say, more than anything.
Yeah, but if it's the first step into starting the wheels in motion with Wardlow not turning on MJF, but you know what I mean, like breaking away from MJF and him getting a babyface push after being with MJF, I can see that being being good for him as far as what he can do and where he can go.
And I think whenever he was in IWC here in Pittsburgh, I think he played both. I think he was a heel at first, and then like he got over with the fans, and then became the face, kind of like the savior of IWC type thing. And
yeah, and he showed back.
He can play it.
He showed back up to to one of the last IWC events that they held out at the Washington Wild Thing Stadium, and the place, like it was a a Road Warrior pop for what an indie show can get a Road Warrior pop. But when he came back and cleared house, he was babyface all the way, and it just made me think, if done right, this dude can be a legit babyface that people will get behind and can do some things.
Yeah, and I mean, we really haven't heard him much on the mic. So I don't know what his capabilities really are there. So if he can talk, great. If he can't, now's the time to refine those skills that when you need to take the mic, you can take it and run with it.
Right. How great was Eddie Kingston and Tony Schiavone?
They're always good.
I mean, Eddie Kingston.
You're such a hater. You're missing great stuff. Wrestling.
I don't talk about the love of wrestling, or
it's just not all. It's just not all about. It's just not all about the in-ring action.
Especially with AEW commentary, like it's not a waste. Like when you add that third, fourth man in WWE, it's just for no reason half the time. AEW, it adds something to it.
It adds it further storyline. It furthered the story that they were telling in the ring, in the match, between Pac and the Butcher. What do you think about the Butcher as far as look and everything goes? Like, to me, that's a big son of a bitch that I don't know where he came from or where he's been prior to this, but I don't know like as to why.
I just looked him up earlier today just to see how old he was. 43, started wrestling at 38.
Oh wow.
Holy shit, he's only been in the business for 5 years?
Yeah, late start. That's DDP
That's
level
we started right now.
Yeah. Wow.
I got 2 years to get in shape.
So now I won't be as hard on the Butcher.
I mean, kudos to him. I'm all for that. I thought he had a good match with Pac.
I'm not. I mean, yeah, it was a decent match overall. Like the whole team of the Butcher and the Blade, I'm not big on. I haven't been big on them since they came in. For the most part, there's nothing really about them that really does much for me. It's just for me, they're just another tag team in AEW.
All right. Anything else from AEW Dynamite this week that you guys want to touch on?
We finally got the wedding date.
Finally got the wedding date.
Is it February 6th?
Yep.
Beach
Break.
Beach Break, yeah.
Beach Break. Because they I guess one of the things that Cody gave up to get his Rhodes last name back was Bash at the Beach.
Yeah.
So they changed it to Beach Break. I'm not mad at that.
No.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out there. I mean, it's a wrestling wedding, so you know something got to happen. They never go off. They never go off. There'll be some type of shenanigan or something happen there. For me,
something needs to happen with Miro. He needs to do something in this wedding, because he's just been playing the side this whole time since he debuted. Maybe Miro runs off with Penelope.
I don't know. He's been legit happy and content with what he has done so far, and where this character is going and has gone already. So, yeah, does he need to do something else? Yes. I think I don't want to say the fans are rushing to get to Miro. I think with him, you got to let it play out and give it time.
Yeah.
With that. But one thing I did want to bring up. So I don't know if you saw the Sean Spears interview segment.
I did. That was interesting.
Well, he's now been removed from the AEW roster, and you can't find him on their website or nothing now.
That's interesting. That's a good way of playing it off.
So I'll see. People are like, "Oh, another repackaging of Sean Spears." But I like where it's going. I like how they kicked it off. If it's true, I'm all for that.
He kind of made that remark about the glove that, why does he need this? And
you don't need this. I'm more talented and better on the mic than 95% of your roster.
Yeah.
And I've seen this happen to me before. I left the place because of what's going on now. And I'm seeing it again, and it's not going to happen to me again. So I'll come back when I want to come back. You go tell the brass that. Okay. All right. I'll see where it goes and where it plays out. I will say with AEW, one of the other things, and I think this is them starting to gear up towards, that third hour of programming, because they filed some trademarks with AEW Dark and what was it, AEW Elite, I think.
Elevation, I think.
Elevate, one of those.
Yeah,
words.
Something like that.
But if you haven't watched Dark lately, I would suggest going in and watching it, because they are doing stuff on there that's furthering storylines and telling storylines. They had a great segment with Kazarian and CD this week on Britt Baker's The Waiting Room segment. That was really good with CD and Kazarian, and their CD talking about retirement and everything else. So it looks like they're doing the "if we lose, we're done" gimmick based out of that to get them one more run. And if you remember, it was Kazarian and Scorpio Sky that won the AEW belts, not him and Daniels. So Daniels is he's older, he's over 50, he does a lot of backstage stuff for them.
He's had a talent.
He's had a talent. So him transitioning back into a backstage role. If they're going to give me one last run of SoCal Uncensored together, and it ends with them, losing to the Bucks for the belts, which I think, given their history and what they've been through as far as teams facing each other, if it was the Bucks to end that run for them and retire CD, I'm here for that storyline. I'll get behind that.
That would be good.
So just pay attention to Dark. If you don't watch it, at least follow the recap. Cage Shot Seats does a good recap of AEW Dark. It lists out each match that happens. and gives each match a rating. So you could skip around and watch the matches. The person that does the recap does a good job of rating the matches. So typically when he says a match is watch, you watch it and you go, okay, I'm glad I watched this match. If it's a pass match, then typically it's pass. I wasted time. Don't need to see it. So, but they are doing things on that show as well. So I don't know if it's building towards the third hour or working on different stuff that will cross over to lead in the Dynamite angles. I don't know, but they've had some good stuff recently on that show.
I haven't watched any of the Britt Baker segments yet, and I've heard good things about that. I need to go back and watch some of those.
Yeah, really good, really good. Sheeta might turn into a zombie. We don't know. Like that's
the table right now.
That's
flip this table right now.
That's it.
Bring that up.
That's a neck bite. That's a neck bite that makes sense. Not the Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch neck bite. That stupid segment in WWE.
Oh my!
This neck bite makes sense, Jason. It's the characters in the storyline, Jason.
It didn't make sense from somebody who wears a mouthpiece 24/7.
Yeah.
So
I'll be the one to say it too. I'm not interested in the Abaddon story.
No.
It's honestly, but I didn't mind this week the bite, but for the most part, it's done nothing for me.
After we talk about this, I want to touch on the ratings because of that.
Yeah, so I think
or the rankings.
Just I guess one other thing from Dynamite. So Moxley will be back next week. Does that do anything to get you guys involved? Chris, I know you're a huge Moxley fan.
The biggest. I'll be sitting right there waiting for it.
Jason, before you bring up the rankings, just to tie into Moxley, I thought this was an interesting little tweet that came out. And it wasn't from actual. Well, it may have been from Kenta's page. But there was a tweet, and I don't know if it's from Kenta's actual Twitter page or if it's just a fan page that is extremely, like Kenta or a big fan of Kenta. But it says, I've been defending my briefcase more than Mox defend U.S. titles. So Mox should challenge me for my briefcase instead. My arms are always open for you. Hashtags, where is Moxley? So I just thought that was good. Good little tweet out there. And if it's not from actually Kenta's page, that fan did a hell of a job to further a New Japan storyline.
I was really hoping that they were going to vacate the title for Wrestle Kingdom because it's time to take the belt off Moxley. If he can't defend it, it's time. It's been almost a year now that he's had it without defending it.
Yeah,
because they took it off of him. They took it off him whenever he couldn't even compete for a month. Was it last year or the year before? So.
And from everything we heard from Tony Khan was that Moxley will not be at the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom. So I don't know if that's going to be a swerve or he's really not allowed to go, but we'll see.
Well, I forget who I saw this week. New Japan did a press conference and they announced a lot of their matches for the 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. Kenta is going to wrestle, but I think he's wrestling someone for the briefcase. So, yeah, maybe that'll be night 1, and maybe Moxley will be a surprise swerve for night 2. But yeah, if he doesn't show up, they need to vacate the title.
All right, Jay, back into what you want to talk about with the rankings for AEW.
So they don't make sense.
I don't have the latest rankings up in front of me.
I honestly haven't been following them.
Let's see. I had it up somewhere.
Cool.
The rankings are supposed to play into who you fight, right?
Yeah. We've seen people not ranked number 1 get title shots, but I mean, you see that in boxing all the time, where the championship. The top guy doesn't necessarily always fight the number 1 contender. You see that in UFC all the time.
All the time in UFC, yeah.
So of course you have the tag team where nobody, FTR is number one regardless already. Nobody else sniffs the tag team title shot except for new guys.
Yeah, but
So
you don't have to necessarily just have the number one team get the title shot. I know that's supposed to be.
That's why you have rankings, right?
Yeah, but it's not like that in boxing and UFC. Just because you're the rated number one welterweight doesn't mean that you're getting a title shot.
So if they want to defend the titles every week, you want to see them defend it only against the number one contender every week.
Well, that's why you have That's why you put rankings in.
So then why does UFC and boxing have rankings if the number one contender is not always getting the shot?
Well, they don't fight like wrestlers. Like they fight, you can't do back and forth pay-per-view after pay-per-view with boxing.
Right, but still it's the same premise though.
This is wrestling. You fight every damn week.
But if it's gonna be if the rankings are going to be if the rankings are supposed to add in a real sports element to the wrestling programming, having the champions fight people that are not ranked as the number one contender is real sports when you look at real sports.
So best friends are third. When was their last shot?
They fought Hangman, or they fought Hangman and Kenny.
Jurassic is fourth. When was their last shot?
They're getting ready to get into a program with FTR. So if they beat FTR, they'll move up in the rankings and get a shot.
They won't get a shot. It'll be FTR.
Not if
I'm talking about legitimate going to change hand shots. Not put the odds on guys. Women's division. Abaddon's third?
Okay.
When's the last time Big Swole fought Sheeta?
They just had a program.
Yeah,
In October.
It was October.
Okay.
So
you really want to see them fight all the time?
And she's still ranked number one.
Is Big Swole still ranked as number one contender?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's that match?
They had that match.
You just have pointless title shots for no reason.
Yeah, but there's a very good example of what you just brought up with the women. They did Big Swole, and then they did what's Big Girl's name?
Nyla was third.
Yeah. So Nyla was ranked number one when she got her shot. Big Swole was ranked number one when she got her shot. And everybody was just like, well, where's the buildup? And then AEW came out and said, well, they're ranked number one. We don't really need buildup for it. So now they're trying to give something with buildup because the fans wanted buildup. So,
and now you're coming in hating because they're giving a title shot to the third ranked.
Yes.
Person.
Yes.
I don't see your point of the argument here. Whenever boxing and UFC, who have done rankings forever, the number one contender does not always get the title shot. It's the way it goes. That's the politics in sports. It's the politics in wrestling. Just because you're ranked number one doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the title shot. And they never said whenever they were going to do the rankings that just because you're the number one contender means you're going to get a title shot.
I think he's kayfabing us right now.
Huh?
I think you're kayfabing us right now.
No. And then you have Darby with the same rankings as the main roster, the main title. And if you legitimize the FTR or the FTW, that's going to be the same top five.
Wait, the top five challengers for Darby or the top five challengers for the heavyweight title?
They have them listed together.
Your screen's upside down. Your screen's upside down.
It's only the men's rankings, not for
they don't specify it by title. It's not by division. It's just overall men's rankings, just like it's overall rankings.
These rankings play nothing into who fights who.
And especially for the TNT title with Darby, they don't really do a ranking system for that. They go, it's an open challenge pretty much every week. So whoever
he shouldn't be on that ranking.
But that's it's not really in a ranking. It's almost a win-loss record more than anything. That's what that more than a real traditional.
But
ranking.
that was stated when they started this. Your rankings are supposed to play into.
And they do play into it. You don't have the 10th ranked person getting a title shot.
But you have the third?
Yeah, because you've seen that in other sports.
You have the third over the second and first, who haven't fought in what? How long?
You've seen that in other you've seen that in UFC. You've seen it in boxing.
No.
It's been there.
This makes no sense.
So when you do a March Madness bracket and you rank the first team with the 8th team, do you think that should be only the first and the second? You don't think the 8th seed should be getting in there, or the 16th seed or whatever?
This ain't a tournament.
But you see it all the time. And UFC puts on shows damn near weekly, but you don't have the number one contender fighting the champion weekly.
You can't have you're not going to have the champion fight every week.
But
so that's why it doesn't line up.
But if your champion, by your logic, if your champion is supposed to fight the number one contender every single time, then why doesn't the UFC put their champion against the number one contender every single time?
Because it doesn't line up to how they fight. This is a wrestling where you're fighting every week.
It doesn't.
So to go with your argument, the AEW rankings should be wiped clean in 2 weeks, because I think that they're going to start fresh for the new year.
They start fresh in January. So after New Year's Eve on Thursday, everybody goes back to 0-0.
Yeah. And they'll make no sense again.
This argument makes no sense.
It was a good argument. I like the argument for it because I can understand, but the argument that you say that, Big Swole, because she, is technically ranked number one, that she automatically gets another title shot each time. No, because she got her shot, she lost. She doesn't drop because of that loss. It's just she doesn't get another title shot. She has to work her way back up to that in a way.
You don't fight for 2 months?
Yeah, because you're building up other feuds.
Chris, what do we say all the time about Logic in WWE, right?
Exactly.
When Logic is there, WWE does the opposite. This was Jason. Logic is right in front of his face, and yet he's Vince McMahon right now trying to pull off this stupid booking argument. With no logic. I just gave you Logic for 2 different sports.
And I just gave you logic that they don't fight every week like it's wrestling.
But they don't have to fight every week.
UFC does. UFC fights every week, pretty much.
Not champions. Not the same people.
Might not be for the title shot, no, but
not the same people.
They could if they wanted to.
No, they couldn't. They don't have that They don't have that turnaround.
They don't, but they could if they
don't have that turnaround, so they're not going to fight.
Figueroa just fought on the last pay-per-view 3 weeks after he had a championship fight, and he had another championship fight. So they can turn around and do it, yes, but given that it's a contact sport, and you depending on how you pass results after tests, after the fights, you're held out for X number of months and everything else. You don't turn around the very next week and fight. I give you that. But at the same time,
you're comparing real life to staged sporting.
But you're bringing you're
comparing stage to real life.
You want to bring aspects of real sports into wrestling. Then when you do bring the aspects in, you're saying that the aspect that they brought in doesn't make any sense because the number one contender doesn't always get the title match. All right, we're moving on. What else happened in wrestling this week?
I think that's a good place to end wrestling this week.
Tom Lawler won the Opera Cup. I can care less because I didn't like Tom Lawler.
I agree. 100% agree with that.
And then Roman, here we'll go to this, Jason, for real life, okay? And you have the Oscars and you have your MTV awards and everything else, and then it's how did Roman Reigns not win any Slammies? He should have won all the awards, right? He's the number one guy, right?
He was out here for half the year.
Well, and Roman tweeted back, when you're the highest paid, most decorated superstar in the business, you don't need to participate in awards. So when you're the champion, you don't need to fight the number one contender every single time because you're the champion. You can fight whoever the hell you want to fight.
Then why have rankings?
Whether it's the third ranked person or the 27th ranked person.
Then why have rankings?
Because you need rankings to to give order to legitimize.
There is no order in AEW. There is no order.
There is an order. They put out rankings every week. That's an order
that they don't follow.
They do follow it. The number one contender has gotten title shots, just not every single time, which is the part of the course with other real life sports where the champion doesn't always fight the number one contender.
And if they did fight every week, you'd be sitting there going, like, why do we have to see this match every week?
But it's not for the title.
All right, end the segment. We'll move on to that's bell to bell this week, Jagoff.
Chug, 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 chug.
This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by that drunken coworker at your Christmas office party that had one too many, and you know they had one too many.
It's kind of bad that I work with family, so it's like my drunk coworkers are my family.
So this week we'll be discussing the Office Party, which is a limited series release. It is a holiday stout by the Abita Brewing Company in Abita Springs, Louisiana. It is a stout brewed with cocoa nibs, cinnamon, vanilla, and nutmeg.
I like Abita. I've had some of their stuff before, so I've had this bottle in my house for over a month.
Yeah.
And today, you saying it's a stout is the first time I knew it was a stout.
Well, you're a mark, and you don't pay attention to the label, so
all I saw was Office Party. That's all I've ever saw.
And to be honest with you, the label and the name of the beer is the reason why I picked it up. I figured it'd be a nice little bang to go out with on the New Year's Eve, since we're around that holiday season with Christmas parties, office parties, and you know, New Year's Eve parties. So I figured we'll give this a beer a try. So on the back of the label, it says, spice up your holiday mix with a mingle of this best dressed brew. Office Party is a holiday stout brewed with oats, pale caramel, and chocolate malts, and is hopped with Williamette hops. Generous amounts of cocoa nibs, cinnamon, vanilla, and nutmeg are added to infuse the spirit of the holidays into this limited release.
I feel like the cocoa is what's really coating my tongue. Like, that's the overall flavor that I'm kind of picking up on for the stout. Is like that's coating it, but whenever I'm smelling it and like the aftertaste, I'm getting a lot of the spices, like the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and maybe whatever else is in there.
6.8% alcohol. So yeah. Good holiday beer to get you going there. With that,
for a stout, the first couple sips, I'm not feeling that it's overall heavy. For a stout, you know, it's definitely a drinkable stout. Carbonation's real nice in here.
This is a good beer. I think we've done pretty good here with the winter beers and the Christmas ale that we've done the last couple weeks, and I think this falls in line with that as far as continuing to be on a good stretch with picking up random bottles of beer and tasting them out.
Yeah, and I've said before in previous weeks, I'm not a big winter warmer holiday beer guy. Yeah, I like the flavorings of the holiday, but in beer, it's not usually my go-to choice. But for this pairing with the vanilla and the cocoa for a stout, I kind of like it. I like the way it pairs. I'm a stout guy, so you know, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely not as heavy as other stouts for sure. Like, you know, it's nowhere near as heavy as like drinking a Guinness.
Yeah.
Or like a Murphy's. So I'm very surprised by how well it tastes given everything that it's brewed with. I thought maybe it could be like too many spices, too many things in the pot, you know, too many cooks in the kitchen type of deal. But for what it is, I really enjoy it. I would drink this over the holidays.
Yeah, I would too. I don't know if I'd want a whole 6-pack of it. It could do its job if you did. It could meet someone's flavor palate a little bit better than mine, but
I think
if I had this like in a mixed 6-pack or something, I'd drink it again.
And I think that's what we've kind of hit home on here doing these last couple of weeks worth of reviews, is that besides the Scotch Ale, Christmas Ale, and the Old Man Winter, which we both said we would buy a case of and drink, I think a lot of these winter warmers and holiday beers and that, it's good to do a beer exchange gift for. So like, if you get 2 of these in a beer exchange with your buddies, you're going to drink both of them and feel good about drinking them. You're not going to be disappointed at all. Spending money on a case of it, yeah, probably not. But I would gladly drink, 2 to 3 of these and be fine and move on to something else. So, all right. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10 1 to 5 for the Sumo rating, what would you give the Abita limited series Office Party Holiday Stout?
I think I'm going to go with a 3.75.
Yeah, I'll go 3.5 for myself. So above average for sure. It's continued the streak here of good holiday picks. I will say that I have been the one that have picked the recent lineup of beer. So maybe my beer picking skills or looking at labels. Not to pat myself on the back again, but humble brag. So we'll see if that's
over here the whole day.
We'll see if that streak continues next week for our review next week, and then kick off the new year and get into some other cocktails. We haven't done much liquor on this segment yet, but I'm sure that'll come into play here soon.
Yeah, we'll give that a try.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and want us to try any beers or any mixed drinks, by all means send us the recommendations, send us the recipes. Whatever you want to hear us break down and sip on, we'll gladly take it into account and get it reviewed if it's available in our area, for sure. I'm
going to give you a compliment, and I'm hesitant to do it for how much you've been complimenting yourself today. But no, like I said at the beginning, I'm not a huge holiday winter warmer beer drinker.
And I'm 3 for 3.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to give you a compliment, then you have to give yourself a compliment on top of it. So
it's what I do. Come back around and add one more onto it. So, all right. Well, this week we'll wrap things up. 3.75 for Chris, 3.5 for myself. We ask that you raise your cups, glasses, 40s, bottles, cans, brown paper bags, whatever you're drinking this week. And since we will be talking to you next time after the new year, everybody have a happy, safe new year. Enjoy your drinks. Don't drink and drive. If you're not out, enjoy your drinks at home with family and bring in a new year. And
have a happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you. Until next time. Cheers. Enjoy. All right, folks, welcome back to this edition of Parenting 101, where I teach you what not to do with your kids if you do have kids as a parent. A couple weeks ago, I gave out a Parenting 101. That wasn't an official Parenting 101, but we talked about my kids watching Lucifer in the office with my wife and learning about sex toys and kink. So Christmas Eve, my wife and I are in the living room, and my daughter's with us. We're flipping through Netflix trying to find something to watch, and Bad Moms Christmas pops up, and my wife goes, "Oh, we just watched this the other night. It's funny." I'm like, "Yeah, but how bad is it?" Like, she goes, "Oh, it's not that bad." I'm like, Kendall can't watch it. Like, it's rated R. Like, she goes, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Is it as bad as Lucifer?" Like, and she goes, no, it's not that bad. So I, defaulted to giving my parenting hat over to my wife to make this decision. And she decided to go ahead and hit play on Bad Moms Christmas. For those of you that haven't seen the movie, it is not, and I repeat, it is not a better option than Lucifer. It should not be watched. it should not be watched by a 10-year-old. A lot of fucks, a lot of sexual, like just stuff that I literally sat on the couch the entire time, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, I can't believe this is going on. Like, Kendall, you should not be watching this movie. Like, turn this off. And my daughter was like, hey, this isn't my choice. This is your choice. You decided to let the movie play. And I'm like, no. She goes, listen, you can either watch it with us or leave. Like, we're watching it. I'm watching it. I'm like, first off, you shouldn't be talking to me like that because I'm the parent. You're the child. Second off, if I say the movie's not valid and you shouldn't be watching it, then you shouldn't be watching it. But what'd she do? Watch the entire movie. I'm like, don't listen. Don't watch. Don't pay attention. Forget everything. I wish I had a Men in Black stick where I could hit the button and erase her memory.
Would you go back from?
It was horrible.
From Bad Moms to Through Lucifer with that?
No, I can't. Like, it's just, I can't believe it. Like,
I've seen the movie. I just I really couldn't tell you any scenes that stood out. Like, to be like, no, I shouldn't watch that.
No, the entire movie is that. It's the entire movie.
I know Catherine Hahn, her character is kind of filthy.
From the opening 5 minutes to the closing scene, it's not. You can't watch the movie at all, at all. Like, there were times where I'm like, cover your eyes, earmuffs. Like, I'm doing all this, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like, real life right now. So if you are a parent, and you decide to watch Bad Moms Christmas, make sure it's just daddy and mommy watching the movie and not kids under the age of 16. So that's this week's advice for parenting 101. I failed on Christmas Eve as a parent watching Bad Moms Christmas. All right, this week in sports, folks, we got an interesting week here. Christmas week. The NBA is King Christmas Day. They ran their 5-game schedule like they've been doing the past couple years. We got a little NFL sprinkled into Christmas Day this year. I don't know if it was just because NFL fell on a Friday and that's why they did it. But you had the Saints blow out the Vikings yesterday. Congratulations to people that had Alvin Kamara in your fantasy league championship because he basically won it for you. And if you were playing Alvin Kamara in your fantasy championship, you can join me as the rest of the losers because I fell the week before to the guy that had Alvin Kamara in my fantasy league. So kudos to him with six touchdowns yesterday. Just an unbelievable performance. Taysom Hill got a touchdown that could have went to Alvin Kamara for him to break the single game record of scoring 7 championships. So that's that there. College football is at a standstill. We got bowl mania season going on. I can't get into bowl games this year. I don't know if it's just because of COVID or everything else, but I turned on, and maybe it's because of some of the bowl games that are on right now. Matchup wise doesn't do anything for me. We'll see, once the Big Six bowls kick off next weekend, if they get you a little bit more excited based on some of the matchups. But yeah, we know we have the college football playoff set: Alabama versus Notre Dame, Clemson versus Ohio State. Right now, off the top of your head, out of those 4, who do you see playing for the national championship, and who do you give the national championship to? Chris, I'll go to you first.
God, I haven't been following much with college football this year.
Way to be a dumb mark.
I am. Whenever it comes to football, really, I am a dumb mark. Yeah, I'll divert to Jason.
When's or what's the bracket?
Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson versus Ohio State.
Oh yeah, they would do it like that. Okay, Clemson, Alabama.
All right, and then who you got winning the national championship?
I'll go Clemson again.
To me, Alabama has been the best team in the country from the get-go this year. That 3-headed monster they have on offense with Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, and Najee Harris is just ridiculous. They don't even have Jalen Waddle. So, like, if they had him, it would really be a cheat code that, against all cheat codes. Their defense looked a little shaky against Florida, but I think Florida has a pretty good offense. They have a lot of weapons on offense there, and the way Dan Mullen coaches, that offense is tough to handle. So I wouldn't be too worried about the number of points that went up against them in the SEC championship game. I got Alabama winning this. I think even though Clemson gives Bama problems, I don't think Clemson's defense is as good as it has been in the past when they've played Alabama, and I just don't see that offense slowing down unless Mac Jones just turns into a pumpkin, because he came out of nowhere as a Cinderella story this year after playing behind Tua for the last couple of years. I just don't see Alabama losing the national championship, but I can be completely wrong there. I will say one of the things that I had on my Christmas wish list this year, and this is just me being an oblivious Pittsburgh Pirate fan, was to, hey, maybe have the Pirates, get back to 500 or have a winning season again, and I can get behind baseball in the city of Pittsburgh, which loves its baseball team. And what do I wake up to this week? Oh, yeah. Let's trade Josh Bell to the Nationals for two prospects that aren't even, didn't even get the top prospect from the Nationals organization. You got the number 3 prospect, Eddie Yean, who's a 19-year-old pitcher. They got another pitcher, Will Crow. It's just like, come on. How many times are we going to see this from the Pirates?
Yeah, that's a typical Pirate move. All they do is they trade away their players for prospects, and their prospects never turn out to be anything.
Sure,
and then they'll end up probably getting rid of them and turn them to somebody else.
Mentioned this call.
You see freaking Glasnow versus Cole in the playoffs this year, and half of Tampa Bay's roster was former fucking Pirates in the World Series. It's just like, what the hell are we doing as an organization?
We are the development league. As much as we're the development league in Major League, because as much as there are other levels below this, this is how the organization runs. So here's where I think my anger towards the Pirates goes further than them just consistently putting out a less than Major League level caliber ball club. You see other organizations do it and turn it around and win championships. The Astros tanked, and don't throw in, well, they cheated and that's why they won the World Series and blah. Okay, I'm talking strictly from a tanking, drafting players, and developmental standpoint to where it's become successful. The Astros did it. We've seen the Marlins do it more than one occasion. They did that back in the 90s when they won their first World Series. They blew it up, and then they rebuilt it back up and won another World Series. The Royals did it the year they won their World Series. They blew it up, rebuilt it from the ground up. My thing with the Pirates is you've blown this thing up so many times, but yet you've yet to do the second step. You've done the demolition, but you've never done the build up. You haven't drafted the right people. You missed on draft picks, whether it was from a financial standpoint where you didn't want to pay draft picks because they were represented by Boris, or you just chose the wrong guy instead of the right pick that was staring right in front of you. And then once you do draft these people, regardless if it's a high pick or not, you never develop anybody. Never. And if somebody does come along that actually develops and is a legit Major League ball player, what do? You trade them away. They get to a certain salary level and they're gone.
You trade them away. You trade Bell away. You trade Marte away. Polanco is the worst signing ever. That was a swing and a miss as far as giving somebody money that was a developmental that showed potential. You traded him away. You've given up on every single pitcher you've had in your organization, and they've gone on to have great success. Fucking Charlie Morton was a potential Cy Young candidate how long ago? Like Charlie Morton. When he was here, he was giving up home runs, had an over a 4 ERA. He goes up to the Astros and to the Marlins. He's pitching in World Series and has a 2-something ERA. Like it doesn't make sense. I get certain people getting to a point where you're not going to be able to pay them. Garrett Cole. There's no way the Pirates are ever going to pay anybody $300 million for a contract. I get that. I'm okay with having those once in a lifetime players that you're never going to be able to afford. I get losing those. But when you consistently lose players that go to other organizations that end up playing for winners and consistently perform in the playoffs for those teams, what the hell are we doing as an organization?
There's a lot wrong with the organization from the top up.
Somebody's just in it for the money.
That's what Nutting's in it for. It's all. I mean, it's been a money grab. It's a consistent, profitable business for him, which makes no sense because I don't know how anybody still ends up in the damn ballpark to watch this sad ass team.
It's baseball. You have baseball. Who will show? I mean, unless you're in Florida.
It's an expensive night out for a family usually, and I think that's the reason why. I think it's because it's something to do during the summertime. People just go. Attendance has been down, but they occasionally get like not sellouts, but decent amount of fans in there. But I agree. There's nothing there.
They have the best marketing team in all of Major League Baseball because they consistently have people in the stands for whatever giveaway night that they have.
Yeah.
Because other than that, there's no reason to go and watch this team.
No, not at all.
I know more people on the Major League Cleveland Indian roster from the movie Major League than I do on the actual Major League Pittsburgh Pirate roster.
Right?
And I'd rather have Jake Taylor than some of the Pirates that are on the roster now.
I'd rather have Dorn.
It's just so it's so frustrating as a once a baseball fan. The Pirates have ruined me from actually liking and watching baseball. I know baseball. I know baseball has its issues as far as pace of play and getting the attention of the younger generation and getting kids involved to play. It should be one of the sports that kids play the most, given hand-eye coordination and everything else, and not to mention if you're able to get up to the major league level, the amount of money that baseball contracts get, and it's all guaranteed. To me, more kids should be playing baseball, but football and basketball is king, and they get more turnout and more interest based off of the fast-paced nature of the sport. I don't know how any little league program could actually survive in Pittsburgh because the major league program is so terrible that kids just are not interested in baseball.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos to the Pirates for already having another losing season. There's no reason for me to tune in, and we haven't even left for pitchers and catchers to report to spring training. Good job, Buccos.
It's like there's been numerous people that have tried to go to Nutting and try to buy the team because they have little interest in trying to make a better team, and he just doesn't care. It's something that I think I heard the thing that it's something that he wants to pass down to his children. It's just like, so
the New York Knicks.
Yeah, this isn't going to be anytime soon. This is going to end. This is going to be a long-term problem.
Yeah. Well, whatever. NHL, PA, and the NHL, I guess they've announced an agreement to play a 56-game schedule beginning Wednesday, January 13th. They realigned the divisions this year, and they realigned the conferences based off of the issues with COVID. So the regular season will have divisions. There'll be a North, a West, a Central, and an East this year. So I guess no Western Conference and Eastern Conference. I don't know how they're going to do playoffs, if they'll switch back to traditional playoff formatting once the regular season ends. But you have in the North is all the Canadian teams, right? Mm-hmm. So Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. So those teams will all play each other an equal amount of time to get to 56 games.
Yeah.
Which makes sense given all the issues with Canada and the travel across borders and everything else. The Penguins fall into the Central Division. And that, I'm sorry, they fall in the East. They fall in the East Division. So Boston, Buffalo, New Jersey, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, and the Capitals. So 8 teams in that division. So they'll play each team 7 times or 8 times. Yeah, 8 times to get the 56 games. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how this works out for the NHL. See if the formatting's any better. I guess it's the best compromise that they could have came up with given the issues surrounding COVID. I like how they did the divisions and the teams that they put in each division make sense from a geographical standpoint and a travel standpoint. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe this changes how we view hockey going forward. Maybe they stick to some type of formatting like this and move away from Western and Eastern Conference. Who knows? But I'm interested. I'm glad hockey's coming back. We'll see what the Penguins do this year. But kudos for them for coming up with it. They have more of an uphill battle as far as an organization goes because they have so many teams in Canada, given the health pandemic and everything going on. So good for them for getting to that agreement, and we'll see where that plays out.
I'm really interested to seeing what happens with Canada because if we get to the playoffs and the Stanley Cup rounds and the borders are still closed, I'm really interested to seeing how they do the workarounds with that. And
yeah, I don't know if they'd hop into another bubble scenario where they did last year and take teams from the States and move them back up into Canada. That'll be something that we'll have to keep an eye on going forward and talk about as more information comes out as they get closer to the end of their regular season. But that's a really good point.
Yeah. But I love the shortened season. This, the thing that's really interesting, like you said, is the way they did the realignments with the divisions. But when last year and whenever they've done the lockout and started back up and they've had to do these shortened seasons, it's basically a rush to the cup. And that's what I like about these shortened seasons with hockey. It's just more focus on the cup than it is about, start of the season, trade deadlines and all that stuff. It's getting to that point.
I mean, and in Pittsburgh, hockey is really not relevant till depending on how far the Steelers go in the playoffs. And that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really pay attention to the Penguins till February, March.
So this kind of gives you the normal season for you.
Yeah, I think, and this isn't the podcast to do this on, but I think one time here in the short future, maybe we should do in a sports segment podcast. We should talk about just seasons being too long in general across the board in all the major sports, and what you think would be a better season length for each sport. Yeah. I know the money and the TV deals and the rights and everything else would never allow for shortened seasons, but there is a legitimate conversation for it being not only a better product watching wise and interest wise, but just having a shorter season to allow for more of an off season to allow for players to heal up. It would be a legitimate deal there. So
that would be my argument for hockey, would be this size of a season. This is always my favorite whenever they do the shortened ones.
I'd say the same time period, just different longer days in between.
Okay.
So you still have the same length of schedule wise, date wise, as a regular season. You just have more off days.
See, I don't think you need to have hockey from October until June. Instead of doing 82 games, slash that down to even 72 or 68 or whatever the number is. But if you do it and you start running hockey, December through May, or if you do October through March, like when it's fucking cold and people normally play hockey, you don't need hockey in June. But like I
Yeah.
said, it'll never happen. But it's something interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
College basketball wise, tough news for Pitt fans. Justin Champagnie is out for potentially 4 to 8 weeks, which really, he's their best player, and accounted for majority, if not 50% of their offense and rebounding. So he's out with a knee injury. They had a nice bounce back to their season after losing to St. Francis of PA, of all schools, in the home opener. But he's going to miss time. And then their second best player, Tooney, he's out for hopefully not as long of a time period, but it's going to miss a couple games here, if not a couple weeks. So tough news for Pitt fans from that standpoint. College basketball, I watch college basketball. Again, it's one of those things that I pay more attention to, like come the
March Madness.
beginning of January, end of January into like tournament time. But I'll watch it here and there where it's on. It's just I've watched games this year, and I don't know if it's the COVID deal or what, but college games to me they're just not grabbing my attention like they've done in seasons past. I don't know if it's because
college, you really miss the fans in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that college, especially college basketball, like watching Duke, watching, and I hate Duke. I fucking hate Duke. Coach, I hate Duke. But watching a Duke game at Cameron Indoor and not having the Cameron Crazies there completely makes it a different element. Like, so I don't know if that'll keep me from watching college basketball and not paying attention to the tournament this year. Who knows with that, but it's just something's off about it. And it could just be that fact that fans aren't in the stands for college basketball and that atmosphere is needed the most. That could be, it could be as simple as that. I don't know. Interesting to hear if anybody listening to the pod, what your take is, if that's what's keeping you from staying interested in college basketball, is not having fans in the stands.
I wonder if we could get to something by the time like March Madness rolls around, where not a packed stadium by any means, but maybe at least a little bit of fans to make it interesting. Even if they could, I haven't heard like where they're going to do March Madness yet, but maybe if they could even do that outdoors in warm weather, and to get some fans in there or something. But
I don't know. I don't think you could do. It's bad enough that they have the NCAA tournament games in the big arenas, because it throws off your depth perception, perception as far as finding range to shooting. That throws it off. For as much as people say that doesn't play into it, it does. If you've played basketball, I mean, if you ever play basketball in junior high, and then you go up to the high school and try to shoot, it takes time to adjust based off of the size of the gyms and everything else. So going from an arena to like a stadium, I get having people there, but like I don't think the product would be as good because of the adjustments that it would take and time it would take to adjust to shooting outside in a stadium.
I could see the argument.
All right, and then that brings us back around to week 16 of the NFL schedule. 3 games are on today as we record on Saturday. Like I said, you had the Saints and the Vikings yesterday. The Steelers play the Colts. Fucking dumpster fire the Steelers are in right now. I know people were saying that they were a false 11-0, and that their record was not as good. It didn't represent as how they were as good as a team that would be 11-0. For what it's worth, I think the injuries on the defensive side of the ball are starting to turn their head and be more of a problem. Even though I think Highsmith has played well for Bud Dupree. I just don't think he is Bud Dupree. Spillane going down, that was a big loss after you already lost Devin Bush. And you know, you have Avery Williamson and Vince Williams there playing middle linebacker, which is fine, but you know, I think that's starting to be a factor. And then on the offensive side of the ball,
that's the dumpster
we
fire.
talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it before. I know last week I was doing some driving around. I was listening to local sports radio here on 97 The Fan, and they had Bob Pompiani and Ron Cook and Joe Starkey were doing their midday show. And, Pompiani was talking about how Roethlisberger still has the arm. He still has the zip to throw it downfield and everything else. Like, to me, watching that game against the Bengals on Monday night, Ben's arm is dead.
Yeah.
His arm is dead. He's not accurate. He's not on target. For all the talk last weekend about Drew Brees and is Drew Brees done? Is Drew Brees' arm shot? People need to be having that conversation about Ben. It was masked earlier in the year because they were hitting on the deep balls whenever the offense was moving and they actually had a run game. I think
you had PIs that helped.
Yeah, but I mean, injuries to the offensive line have decimated them. They're nowhere near to their starting offensive line that they had at the beginning of the year. And for all the flack that the run game gets as far as the play calling and the formations and everything else, the Steelers have not been able to run the ball consistently well since they've lost their offensive line coach. What's his name? Munchak. Since they lost Mike Munchak. And since he left them with the Denver, the Steelers haven't been able to run the ball. So for all the hoopla around play calling and Fichtner and everything else, having a good to great offensive line coach and having a healthy offensive line would do wonders to any run game, let alone the Steelers run game right now.
Yeah.
So I think.
Right.
No, go ahead. What was you gonna say?
To me, if the offense can at least just hold the ball, they're leaving that, they're hanging the defense out to dry. To me,
that's why people couldn't believe what the score was at halftime on Monday night. But if you look at the time of possession, the defense was on the field for damn near 30 minutes of the first half.
And they started they started 20 yards, 35 yards, and 20 yards. That's nothing.
So not only are you giving good field position based off of turnovers, but you're consistently running your defense out there because you're going 3 and out. Their first 3 or 4 series, I think, maybe took a little over a minute of playtime. Yeah. I don't care if you have the 85 Bears out there or the Ravens from their Super Bowl run when they beat the Giants, or any of the Steel Curtain defense, any great defense. I don't care how great they are. If you have them on the field for 25 plus minutes out of the first half because you have no time of possession, they're not going to be able to hold up playing that many snaps and them being on the field that long. It's not going to happen. So
they can at least just sustain a drive. I don't even care if you don't score. If you can sustain the drive.
Just give me a break. If you're still, if the defense forces a punt, just can we run 8 to 10 plays? Maybe flip field position and work it that way. But to me, I don't see them beating the Colts on Saturday, even though Roethlisberger has owned the Colts and he's had 500-yard plus passing games against the Colts. I don't think they're not going to be able to move the ball on that Indy defense. And teams know the blueprint. They're playing press man coverage, and they're coming up on every short route now. So they're not sitting back and letting you dink and dunk. They're going to pressure your receivers and force you to throw the ball downfield. So now you have an offensive line that's shaky with a quarterback whose arm is dead, having to throw the ball 10-plus yards down the field. It's a bad combination. I think they lose to Indy. They have the potential to lose to the Browns and not even win the division.
This whole conversation's the conversation I expected to have at the beginning of the season, and for how well things were going in their favor for 11 weeks, just to get here now, I'm a little surprised how much things fell apart, but unfortunately, that's what injuries do to a team.
Yeah, nobody was complaining about Fichtner's play calling in the beginning of the year whenever they were averaging 27 points a game.
Oh, I was.
But I mean, is he the best offensive? If he's not even really the offensive coordinator. Let's be honest. Like Ben is the one that's running the show.
Yeah.
So
if they throw another 3rd and bomb on 3-1, 3-2, I think I might fight somebody.
I just the injuries, to me, you're not winning the Super Bowl this year.
No.
Right. The hopes that you had in the beginning of the season and how the season started playing out, if you have a completely healthy defense, like you could make a run in the playoffs, but they don't have a completely healthy defense and their offense isn't good enough to score to keep up with the Bills and the Chiefs. Like it's just not going to happen. And then if you get into a slogfest with say the Titans or the Ravens, you're not going to be able to run the ball to keep time of possession, to keep Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and that off the field. Like it's just not going to happen. So I'm not a delirious Steeler fan where I go, oh, we're still winning the Super Bowl. No, I'm a realist. This team is not going to make a deep run this year. I think you strongly need to look at offensive line and a quarterback in the draft. You have to.
They should have done that numerous times by now. Yeah. There should have been a better backup plan than there is.
They thought Mason was the guy. He clearly showed last year he ain't.
No, he's not. And the fact that he's still, I mean, it looked like him playing quarterback Monday night. I tweeted out, I said, is that Mason Rudolph playing in Ben's jersey? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like last year with Mason and Duck out there. So it is what it is for everything, all the faults. We see the playoff picture starting to shape up. Looks like Green Bay, we'll wrap up the 1 seed here for the NFC. Although that still is going to come down to week 17 based off of record wise. The Chiefs look to keep a stranglehold on the 1 seed in the AFC. There is still a chance that the Browns can finish 11-5 and not make the playoffs, which as a Pittsburgh fan, if that scenario plays out, that'll make my 2020. That'll make my 2020. If Cleveland goes 11-5 and does not make the playoffs, that will make my 2020. Regardless,
your heart.
Yeah, regardless if the Steelers go one and done in the playoffs, I can care less.
Is there a scenario where they both miss out? Cleveland and Ravens?
Well, the Ravens have to win out to get in.
To get in? Okay. I like that.
So, yeah. But because Baltimore owns the tiebreaker over Cleveland, they both, they'll.
When's the last time the AFC been that deep? It's been a while since they.
Yeah, I mean the AFC is clearly deeper than the NFC as far as teams go, but then for as deep as they are, it's like, well, are you really going to be able to beat the freaking the Madden cheat code game that is Kansas City? Like,
I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. Somebody got their number.
I just don't know how you hold that offense down to where you win a game. I mean,
to me, if the Steelers played them, their problem would be Travis Kelce.
Well, I mean, the tight end has always been the Steelers' problem.
Yeah, that would be their problem. Like they could probably shut down Tyreek Hill, but I think Kelce would be their problem.
Shut down's a strong word. I don't. What do you mean by shut down? Like not 6 for 84? Like is that shutting Tyreek Hill down?
I don't think he would get all that.
If that's the Steelers' defense healthy,
again, there's always some blown coverage somewhere where you can get one.
I just think there's so many weapons on that Chiefs team. It's going to be hard to keep that offense from scoring 30. And your offense scoring as many points as you need to. And we saw that in their run last year. You down 21-0, 24-0 in the playoffs, and you come back and you win 48-24. Like, to me, they're never out of a game, no matter what the score is. And that's a scary thing to have on offense. So, but yeah, that's NFL for this week. Hopefully the Steelers can win. I don't know if they'll pull out a W against the Colts. I don't see it. I don't see them being able to score more than 14 on that defense, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, Roethlisberger tends to have the Colts number, so we'll see. But so yeah, that's it for sports this week. Anybody got anything else to chime in on?
Duke ladies, I see, just pulled their women from 2021 play altogether.
Who did?
Duke women's basketball.
Yeah, so Coach K. I hate Duke, and because his team's not playing as well as they are, he's coming out and trying to be all on the side of player safety and health and say we shouldn't even play the tournament now and all this other stuff. But I will be interested to see if teams start to do that and start to decline going, given the health concerns and everything else. That'll be an interesting thing to watch going down the stretch here.
Who was it? The Houston team that all tested positive?
Yeah, the Houston Cougars men's basketball team, the entire team tested positive.
But they're still going through with the season, right?
Yeah, I don't know how long they're out for. I don't know how those protocols work, but obviously if your entire team's tested positive, you can't play games.
Yeah.
Oh. But yep, that's it in sports. I don't got nothing else for you guys this week. Enjoy the games. Hopefully Steelers can get off the schneid here, but it'll be tough sledding tomorrow.
All right, gentlemen, that's going to do it for episode 17 of the Dumb Marks podcast. A little bit of news for everybody. Starting Saturday, January 2nd, 2021, the Dumb Marks podcast is going to be going live. Live.
So everybody that follows along with the podcast, you will be able to join us live each and every week. Kind of like your Saturday morning cartoons, only better. So pay attention to socials this week. We'll keep putting out some stuff, drop some stuff, but new year, new show, new format. We will be going live.
Every Saturday at 11 a.m. we'll be going live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So especially on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification this way that you get the notifications every time the show goes live, and you'll get make sure you like Facebook and Twitter, and then you'll get some notifications on there as well.
And don't worry if you're not able to join us live on Saturdays while you're doing your running around, grocery shopping, whatever else. The audio for the podcast will continue to drop on Mondays, so you can always listen in like you've been doing since we launched the show. And the audio will continue to play into your ears over the podcast airways as well.
Yeah, so a lot more choices on how you can watch or listen to us. Just trying to make this even more accessible to all you guys out there.
Yeah, and one of the biggest reasons going live each and every week was to get the interaction, more of a feel with the people that do listen to the show. So you'll be able to leave comments and voice your opinion while you're watching us live. So that can always lead us to talk about other things and interact more with the listeners, which we're looking to do as well.
Yeah, the more comments you guys leave, the more it changes the format of the show and keeps the conversation going with us every Saturday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So hopefully next week we'll have our fourth member back, Donald. Hopefully he's feeling good and we'll have a better week. If
not, we'll work with this vanilla Oreo triple threat that we got going on today. So, you just won't get the double stuffed edition of the Dumb Marks podcast with the four of us. You'll get the triple threat version that you got today.
Double stuff. That's exactly what we are.
Quick hitters from the show here. Anything that we didn't touch on in the segments that we covered?
I got everything off of my list. Is there anything for you guys?
Everything on point.
Jay, you're good?
I'm good.
You don't have anything more on the rankings?
Don't bring it back up. Real quick, some quick hitters here. Bell to Bell Wrestling Impact is running their Super X Cup tournament on Saturday, January 9th, the week before their Hard to Kill pay-per-view. So the bracket is out for that for Genesis. Go look at that. There's some talent that is within the company and not within the company that'll be on that show. So we talked about specials being ran right before your pay-per-view and whether or not that's a good thing. I think if Impact is going to run specials like this before their pay-per-views, I'm all for that. So that's a good thing there.
The one thing I'm interested in this Genesis event, okay, so they did Turning Point right after Bound for Glory, and they threw that on YouTube right away, right afterwards, real quick. And then this last one, I'm trying to think of what the name was, but I forget. It was so we'll move past that. But they end up airing that live on their ImpactWrestling.com. You know, you didn't even need that Impact Plus for that. So I'm interested to seeing if they, you know, especially with Hard to Kill being the following weekend, if this is another one they're going to show for free or what. But if it's free, I'll watch it.
Yep. So that's there. And then I don't know if you you know, we don't have to deep dive into this anymore. Maybe we can talk about it in depth more next week. But Jim Cornette, whether you like him, love him, or hate him, gave some comments as to why the ratings are so low for WWE, and it has nothing to do with their PG rating. So if you want to look at that article that was on Ringside News, dropped like 3 or 4 days ago. But for as controversial as Cornette is with his takes, I think he brings up a good point in this article, and his comments are pretty good. So I would go out and look at that and see what your takes are on that. I know
I'm guessing it's probably more than one thing, but what does he like really say with it?
So basically, you know, he's saying that the PG programming isn't to blame for the ratings dip. Wrestling doesn't have to be PG or rated R. It's about being, you know, adult in real violence versus play violence, or creating or exposing or finding and letting them be real characters, not like Pinocchio, be real talent. Is what he was talking about. And he brought up in the 80s, you know, they didn't cuss or swear or anything on Mid-South wrestling, but they did have violence, and the matches were real, the characters were real, the talent were real. And it was some of the highest rated shows on television. So, you know, he's like, don't be Otis and Tucker, be Walter or Kyle O'Reilly. As far as in the ring and what you bring to the show. So it was a good read. It was, you know, like a 5-minute article, nothing too long as far as reading goes, but he does for what Cornette is, you know. I think he raises some good points in the article. It was just an interesting tidbit that I saw as far as what could be the blame as far as the ratings dip for WWE.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah, look that out. So other than
Jason
that, yeah,
I'll read it. I'll disagree, but I'll read it.
So, I don't have anything else. You know, that was all I had for this week on the show. And since we're in Pittsburgh, we just had another snowstorm. And it's been the coldest days of the year so far for this year. I'll leave you with this ice cold fact from Ice-T, who said, "Your biggest supporter is a stranger. Your biggest hater is someone you know." And with that, we'll catch you around the way.